Professor Obas John Ebono. He's one of the few people with that combination of environmental law and sustainability. He's still sitting out in the UK and will be giving us a keynote. So thank you all, and listen to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Henry. It's a privilege for me to be with you today. And thank you very much, country representative, for being here with us and spending time with us. Particularly grateful to the school children that are here. As the resident coordinator representing Nodu said, you are the future, and you're the one that we are looking to enhance the regenerative capacity of the environment. Because why we are here is we want to leave the world in a better state that we found it and give you the baton to run, with it. So to the rest of you, I'm very, very grateful that you are able to make the time to come here. I also want to particularly thank IHSTowers Strength. The reason for that is that globally, it's very difficult to find private sector that is willing to put, money where their mouth is. And I'm really, really grateful to them for their initiative, their foresight, and their willingness, not just to support this event, but by supporting this event, I was privileged to know other activities that they are engaged in the country and also in other parts of the world. So I'm really grateful to them. As you can see, what the my friend on the panel referred to, the sea of plastics. Plastic has become an important marker. If you're looking for, say, a DNA, there's a marker in your DNA that distinguishes us from other species, and you find it, you say you are a human being. But outside of plastics, what used to be as an indicator that human beings have been here, have been what? Ruins. Ruins. There's nowhere you go today that you do not find plastic. So it's become pretty much, part and parcel of us, and everywhere we go, we find plastic. Don't forget, and also the reason why I'm warning against some of these innovative approaches today to try and remedy the problems that we say we have now. Because under environmental law, you are asked and requested to adopt policies, measures, and technology that are subject to best available technology and knowledge, at a reasonable cost, BATNet. Because if you look at asbestos, for example, was the best thing that happened to fire retardant when it was first of all discovered. But down the road, we found that it's a major cause of what? Cancer, particularly women. Secretary, you see down typing all day, breast cancer exploded. So some of the things that we are doing today as mitigation or adaptation measures, we have to be really, really careful because we know very little. And it is an attempt of us being too clever, wanting to play God, that landed us in this position that we find ourselves, today. That's why when I go to international conferences, people are propounding theories, and solutions. I sit back, and reflect on it. We all need to do that. If you just look at global plastic production, okay, you can see the rate at which it's been rising, okay? Up to 1950, you saw nothing there, okay? And now, 2020, we are looking at 400, million. And if we don't adapt, look at what is going to happen by 2050. From 1950 to 2017, we had 9,200 million tons of plastic produced. And out of that, we only have 2,900 still circulating when you talk about prolonging the life of plastic. And that only happened because of the concerted effort by United Nations and all of its organizations in the last 5-10 years to actually say, look, we have to prolong the use of this plastic, okay? And then we're only able to recycle just 700 million out of this, okay? Leaving us what? 5,300 million, tons of plastic discarded, just discarded, and only able to incinerate 1,000, million tons. When we talk about incineration, you also have what? Greenhouse gas emission. So it's not a solution, at all, okay? And so if you look at countries, the statement that is being made now, if you look at Norway, these are countries that have committed themselves and now recycling 97% of their total, plastic waste. And Japan, okay, Sweden, India, it's also trying, European Union, and the United States of America. I want you to mark that. The United States of America just only able to recycle just barely 30%, of its plastic waste. Why? Because of climate change skepticism. It's very rife there. There's a whole body of knowledge, industry, and institution that believe there's no connection between human activity and global environmental, sustainability and climate change. Okay, even though it manifests on a daily basis. Okay, but I just want you to pay attention to the image you have on the screen. I usually do this to drum home exactly what we are talking about. This excellent statement made by my colleague on the platform. Look at these birds when they died. Somebody found and look at the amount of plastic ingested. Next slide. Right? Yeah, they should be changing it. Right. Okay. And you can see what the plastic is. And you look at the turtles there, right? And that's not different from you. That's the whole essence of sustainability. The ecosystem belongs to all of us. We are just as any other living, organisms. So what right have we got to decimate the ecosystem that other species, have the right, And when you talk about just sustainability, these are some of the issues and some of the things we are referring to, okay? But if you look at the dynamic consequences, in terms of over 100,000 marine animals die every year just getting entangled in plastics. Okay, you needed to actually see this happening in real life. And we have 12 to 14,000 tons of plastic are ingested by just North Pacific fish alone. And that comes onto our dinner table. All right. And you see, mysterious illnesses developing without us knowing the source. Okay. Then you can see majority of marine life, they cannot distinguish between food and plastic. And whatever they see in front of them, they ingest it. Just a little bit of digression. How many of you know that we have up to about 50 to 60 million birds that died in the United States alone as a result of high tall buildings? Because up to a certain height, the bird can't see in front of them. All right? And they hit the glass, and then they fall and they die. Okay. Back here, you have animals starved to death because their stomach is clogged by plastic, and that's asphyxiation. Okay, so we're not just saying that one has to be, responsible in the way that we deal with the natural environment. Marine plastic pollution is found in hundreds of turtles, 59% of whales, 36% of seals in recent, studies. Okay, right. Next slide. Right. And then you see, because plastic is intertwined with our lives, it dominates everything that we do. Okay, but these are the plastic that you can see. When we talk about plastic, these are the ones you can see. When you board an aircraft, what do you see? Half of that aircraft is plastic. The so-called Dreamliner, the latest aircraft, half of it is plastic. That's why it's light and it's able to fly. Cosmetics that you use. There are so many areas where plastic are used that are not visible to the naked eyes. Okay, even the clothes that we wear. All right. Okay, and so what then do we mean? What are we asking? There are certain areas where you see that plastic, we can do without plastic, especially single-use plastic that you talked about. Okay, how should we use plastic? It's much more important than the plastic, itself. How we use it. Okay, and that is very, very important, and that is what this gathering is all about. You look at the linear economy, where you just take, excavate, you make plastic, you use them. What next? We throw them away. Right? Sometimes I've seen people, you say, go to the shop and buy something because they are well dressed. They look at the plastic you give them, they say, oh, it's very squeezed, I won't take that. They go buy. Okay. So in the United Kingdom, we're looking at how best do we try and discourage this. If we had put the price of a plastic bag to say £5, it would have become a status symbol where we pegged it at 10p. Believe you me, it's so painful to bring 10p out of your pocket. These are areas where psychologists amongst you really, really need, to look at it. You need to, when I'm teaching in the classroom, I'm discussing with some of my students, giving them a group work. The essence of a group work is for interpersonal communications and interaction. And say, I don't want you to come and tell me that this person did not participate, that person did not participate. How did you elicit his participation? Right? What did you do to incentivize that person? Then they say, oh, I bought this. Do you know what incentivizing? You can give a mini car or a car to somebody who already has a Rolls Royce. Doesn't mean anything to that person. Give that person boxer shorts and socks. You see him dancing. But those are the things that he cannot go into the market, to buy. So it's very, very important, the respect and how we look at plastic. So we want to move away from that linear type of economy toward circularity, where we reuse, when we make, we use, we reuse, we remake, and then we recycle. In other words, you are getting the last squeeze of value out of that product. What does it do? It delays, because anytime you spend money, you buy anything, you are discharging what we call price signals to the manufacturers, all right? That more of those goods and services are needed, all right? The wholesaler and manufacturer also send that message onwards, okay? And so that's why if you can reuse your plastic bag and delay the production of virgin plastic, then you'll be contributing so much to the environment. Okay, look at a survey was done across the world, 23,513, by banning single-use plastics. There's an overwhelming, desire for it. But the question you need to ask yourself, who were these surveyed? Were they the educated ones? Okay, who use plastic, or those people who come to plastic by accident? Because when you look at these statistics and you still look at the growth of use of plastic around the world, it's confounding. Both they don't add together. Okay, all right. Now these are countries where we have plastic bag banned and so on and so forth. My colleague that spoke earlier on said Nigeria signed, to this. Okay, now you can see this is the problem that we have. Implementation. All right. I've also said to somebody, Nigeria has some of the best environmental regulations you can ever think of. In fact, the best economic policy, the best foreign policy, anything on paper, well articulated. But to implement it is a major problem. And it's not just Nigeria, but most other countries. And this is why sometimes I sit on the board of United Nations Habitat. Okay, we just had our meeting the whole of Saturday and Sunday. These are some of the issues. We say, we were in Bilbao, a few months ago, to look at how well we have gone regarding SDGs. We had nothing to report, right? Is it the formulation of the policy? Is it the implementation, or is it the partnership that is not there? This is something you find, everywhere that you go. So it's not just about plastic, putting a law out and say, we are banning this, we are doing that. You must demonstrate capacity to follow it through. Okay? So the big question is, we command and control measures that are currently in existence all over the world, deal with the issues that we face. But the evidence before us, is clear. I say no. These measures may be very helpful, but they are reactive. They are reactive. It should have been possible for us to look at these problems and proactively deal with them, especially now that we know, what the consequences are. Okay, what is it that we can do to prolong the lifespan of plastic? How can we implement circularity? Right? But I must say, when it comes to this, and everywhere I go, I said the developed countries need to come to Africa, because I don't talk in nowadays so much about knowledge transfer. I talk about now, when it comes to issues of this nature, knowledge exchange. There's so much we can teach the rest of the world in terms of circularity. If you just go out, you look at what we wear, how long we hold on to issues, and so on and so forth. The only problem that Nigeria have, to a large extent, the rest of Africa, is lack of maintenance culture. Now, if you put that against what I've just said, it's a recipe for disaster. All right? And so, few things that we have to do. We have to be very bold, and we have to be very resolute in pursuing plastic, economy. Okay? And what does that mean? We have to have an effective market for secondary plastics. And I'm glad to tell you that that is going on very, very rapidly now in Nigeria. I mean, 5 years ago when I came here, there wasn't such movement. If you drop a plastic now, and before you turn your eye, somebody is picked it, because he knows there's place to take it to, and sell. Some beggars have now, left that trade and are now looking for something, in this direction. Please make it easier and cost-effective for efficient collection, processing of used plastic. Don't make it too difficult. Don't make people go through, hell, to collect plastic. And once they've collected plastic, they have nowhere to, to sell them. Or the middleman, knowing fully well that you have nowhere else to take it, it can underprice you for you to discourage you. It should be very possible for you to say, return it to a particular store, as they do in Spain, in Germany. You get money, coupon there and then when you return it, and then you spend it for your next item. Okay? And then so make it exciting. Working in this sector must be made attractive, in order to bring in the necessary skills and competencies that is required. The richest woman in China made her billions of dollars from recycling. The so-called black gold, they call it there. Okay? So there is joy. We need effective policies and strategies. We need to incentivize, give loans, grant at what? Competitive, rate. Okay? Now, when we are saying that we need replacement for plastic or any unsustainable material, the story does not end there. For about 15 years now, if you remember, the chairman of the cement manufacturing company here, yeah, and one of the participants from Belgium said to us, for 15 years now, we have sustainable cement. Cement that has little clinker, okay? They have substitute for it, but they've not managed to commercialize it. They've not managed to bring it onto the market. You know why? Because the cost of pursuing it, bringing it to the market is so high. If Belgium was to set its own standard, ISO 15,000 or whatever it is, America will want to set its own. Just as when you are going to Europe, we have two plugs. You are going to United States, same. You're going to different parts, they have 3. These are trade restrictions. Okay? All right, so we need to override that. And the United Nations has a role to play in that. And I'm very glad now that they are now advocating for one charger. You don't need to have so many different kind of unique charger. I think that is coming up now. Whatever charger you have can charge any phone, so on and so forth. And that's meant to reduce, the use of plastic and all of this. Okay, so they must be ready, and we must be ready to fund, that kind of research. Bring all the industry end users together, academic and research institutions, okay? Because new approach to plastic packaging must be sought, okay? Where unnecessary plastic packaging is totally phased out. When I was coming, I make it a duty, almost like a habit, to tour around. I always give myself about 45 minutes extra so I can look at all the shelves at Heathrow duty free. Now, there's a perfume house now that are repackaging their perfume and eliminating plastic, okay? So they are testing the market, all right? And now let's go back to our culture. I want everybody here to look at what is on the board. How many of you will come to my house today and I give you food in these leaves or whatever, and would not sort of look at me and say, oh, this man is supposed to be a professor. He cannot even afford to buy XYZ. All right? And you can see what is happening here. We never needed plastic in the first place. But we're told that is the best thing that has ever happened to man. Retracing our food back, because these leaves you see here can be cultivated under sustainable forestry or agroforestry. So you start harvesting it every year, and it gives money, it provides money. I was at the conference held by the Nigerian Institute of Conservation some few weeks ago. I participated in the UK, and I was talking to somebody from University of Ekiti on certain things that we can, do together here. All right? And so the next thing is all around education. We have to educate ourselves, those people around us. It's not just formally, but informally. All right? That education that we are talking about must start very, very young. The reason I'm saying this, in the UK, the people that actually helped the British government to achieve, 75 or 80% reduction in plastic carrier bags were the children. When they were taught in primary schools and secondary schools, we were monitoring it. You go to Tesco and Sainsbury's. They say, no, mommy. No, Mrs. Johnson said we shouldn't buy. Don't let your parents buy a new bag. Or some of them actually just dip their hands in the pocket and say, mommy, I've got bags here. And the parents were now learning from their kids. And that is why GreenHuB Africa, the brain behind what we do at GreenHuB Africa, we don't want to sort of imitate all other environmental NGOs. We saw a gap, particularly in Africa, where superstition, reigned very highly. Any environmental problem issues, we linked it to our forefather or great-grandfather or whatever it is. We never immediately link it to our behavior. We throw plastic away. Our drainage get blocked. You have flooding, and we have, damage. And at this point, I'd like to pay tribute again to IHSTowers, Owando, for supporting, the work that GreenHuB Africa is doing here in taking environmental education, all right, to kids in primary and tier 3 education. We don't call it education. We call it, edutaining. You have to make it exciting. We 2-year-old, 3-year-old want to come and sit with you. You are reading the Bible in Sarah's cloth and whatever, when they are using rapping music to tell you about Jesus Christ. Nobody. So you must speak the language they understand. You must make it exciting to bring them aboard. You must create a role for them. You must co-create, the movement alone. And everywhere I go, I do this little exercise. And I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes for a few seconds, and I will say a word, and then you tell me what image you attach to that word. Close your eyes, please, for just a second. Open your eyes. What image comes to mind? Anybody there? Any image? Anything? Green environment, thank you, mommy. What else? Sustainability, excellent. Anything else? No. Yeah. Less plastic pollution. Like alternative to plastic. Fantastic. But there's one thing. Everywhere I do this, everywhere I get it wrong. There's one thing you have not mentioned, and that's people. People. Who manufactures plastic? People. Who use plastic? People. Who discard plastic? People. Who suffer the consequences? People. Thank you very much.
So much. Thank you for such insightful words, Professor Obasanjo Nebon. I believe we are already taking notes of solutions to plastic pollution. At the end of this event, if you are asked what you have learned today, let me help you. Just say these words. Say make, use, reuse, remake, recycle. Should we do that again? All right, let's say it together. Make, use, reuse, remake, and recycle. A round of applause. Yes, indeed. I'd like to also recognize our participants joining us online. We do not, you're not left out. We have people here on site and those that are joining us online. I'd like us to open our booklets. If you go to page 9, you'd see an information there. You see who we are, what we do. Let's go to what we do about GreenHuB Africa, because I want to introduce a video, but I'd like to give us a background to that video. It says, we design, repurpose, and disseminate simple programs for better comprehension. But how do we do it at GreenHuB Africa? We use marketing intelligence and our proprietary tools to design simple, fun, and contextual solutions across our focus areas. Now we're going to watch a video about our superheroes. These superheroes are helping our climates. And yes, the students can understand very quickly because we want everyone to participate in the issue that has to do with climate change. Once this video is done, our next speaker will be joining us. I'll be back to introduce our next speaker. Please watch.
I was perfect. My 7 seas teemed with creatures great and small. My wide expanse of sky was a roof over all things. From my rich soils came food for the belly and medicine for the body. I was a shelter for birds, the beasts, and people. Until the great pollution. Men corrupted my skies with gas, my waters with oil, and continue to make a waste bin out of me. And now, I'm dying. If I go, everyone and everything does. Which is why I turn to you to stop this and save us all. From my powers of light, rebirth, wisdom, and fertility, I, Mother Nature, summon you. Amina, from across the River Niger and the Northwest, you are my energy expert. Ife, from the creeks of Bayelsa and the South, become water wizard. Sultan from the land of Adamawa Plateau in the Northeast, now your field fighter. Abike of Hamatan Dust in the Southwest, be my green guide. Oche of the Great Middle Belt in the North Central, today your veggie vindicator. At Days of the Niger Delta and the South, you are Recycle Ranger. A cannon from Cross River and the South, Fashion Fixer. And wise of the great and number of the Southeast, you are the truth talker. You will fight pollution. You will stop the destruction of this planet. You will be my climate action superheroes.
One for all and all for one.
I sincerely think GreenHuB Africa deserves yet again another round of applause for that, please. You'll recall that the chairman did talk about edutaining, and I'm sure that the children actually found that very, very edutaining. We will be having remarks now, and it's my pleasure to invite Damian Ude of the IHSTowers of Strength for the very, very first remark. Can we please give him a round of applause, please?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. People like Prof should be kept for the last portions so that when he speaks, he rounds up everything, concludes it, and gives us a way forward. But if you allow him to speak first, every other thing we speak will be like elementary. So, but we'll try. So thank you, Prof, for the keynote. And at IHS, we are very strong and resilient on sustainability, particularly environment, health, education. And what gives us joy now is that so many other companies are also emulating that and joining in the fight. But on behalf of IHS, I'm delighted to welcome you to this promising occasion, the World Environmental Day program, themed Solutions to Plastic Pollution. I recognize and applaud the joint efforts of the GreenHuB Africa Foundation and the United Nations in putting together this program. Today's program is timely and worthy of celebration as it marks the 50th anniversary of World Environmental Day globally. Additionally, it provides an opportunity for collaboration, reflection, and the actions required to address today's pressing environmental challenges. Globally, environmental issues such as climate change, flooding, pollution, drought, erosion, and excessive heat exert tremendous influence on the sustainability and healthy living of human beings in various manifestations. For example, Nigeria has a total area, there's nothing I will say here that Prof has not said. So when you hear it a second time, just know that I took it from Prof. Nigeria has a total area of 983.213 kilometer square, occupied by about 200 million people. The interaction of people with their environment has left an indelible mark on the landscape. Urbanization, deforestation, desertification, overpopulation, land degradation, and pollution are some effects of man's interaction with the environment. These changes occur as people attempt to satisfy their demand for food, shelter, recreation, and infrastructure facilities. Unwise and exploitative use of the land and its resources negatively impacts the environment. Today, we come together as business leaders, individuals, ambassadors, and advocates for a plastic-free and clean environment. As plastic use has increased, plastic pollution has become a global concern and has the potential to harm almost every living thing in the world, ranging from health problems such as cancer and heart disease. Again, I'm quoting what Prof has said. Additionally, the amount of plastic in the ocean is expected to double in the next 15 years. And by 2050, there could be more plastic than fish in the sea. Prof said that by weight. To this end, while awareness of the damage they do to our planet is increasing, we can reduce our plastic use in many ways, such as recycling and reusing plastic bottles, using cloth bags instead of plastic bags, and avoiding single-use plastics like straws and coffee cups. As we enjoy today's event earnestly, let us remember that plastic is tremendously hazardous for all living animals and biosphere. There is no place left on the planet with no plastic traces. As such, we must begin to take action to reduce plastic pollution, restore our damaged ecosystem, revitalize our water bodies, regenerate our forests, and revive the spirit of environmental stewardship. I leave you with these words by the current United Nations General Secretary, Antonio Guterres, where he said, plastic waste is now found in the planet's most remote areas. It kills marine life and is doing a major harm to communities that depend on fishing and tourism. I thank you all for your time and wish you fruitful deliberations.
In spite of the fact that Damian did say the biggest masquerade, that's Prof, should have spoken last, but Damian did also help to deepen the conversations, don't you think so? So can we please appreciate it? We understand that Joke Lasisi of Planet 3R is very much around. If you're around, Joke, we'd like to invite you to this other side. Okay. Director of Climate Change, Dr. Ini Obong Awe, will be joining us virtually now, and she will now take over the second remark. Can we please give a round of applause to Dr. Ini Obong Awe, who is joining us virtually.
Waiting for Dr. Ini to join virtually. I think Tonia can give her remarks since she's physically here. So Tonia, please do that. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to the unique representative here. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Permit me to stand on existing protocol. This is a sobering event. Started yesterday, actually, with the Federal Ministry of Environment event. And listening to all that everyone has been saying just reminds us about the need for us to be more responsible as individuals, especially as adults, because the children would always copy what they see, not what we tell them. And so I'd first like to bring you greetings from the head of Oando Foundation, who is unavoidably absent today, but she sends her regards to everyone here. I'd like to thank GreenHuB Africa and other partners who have made today's event possible. We're grateful for the opportunity to be here. This year's World Environment Day has been rightly themed beating plastic pollution. Why was the day set up in the first place? It was to raise awareness on environmental issues and encourage people across the globe to take meaningful actions towards environmental protection. The theme this year recognizes that plastic pollution has become a global phenomenon and one that has caused severe harm to the environment and to our health as humans. As the world grapples continually with the adverse effect of excessive plastic use and disposal, Nigeria is not left out of the struggle. An estimated 2.5 million tons of plastic is produced in Nigeria annually, placing the country among the top 20 nations contributing 83% of the total volume of land-based plastic waste that ends up in the ocean. As our population rises, like the previous speakers have said, it means we have a huge problem on our hands. We're currently 220 million people. The expectation is that by 2050, we will have doubled that number. And that will mean doubling the current crisis we face with plastic pollution. Unfortunately, most of the plastic waste is not recycled. Yes, there are initiatives that are springing up. Some have effectively been done. Some are still coming up to help solve the problem, but we know that we're all just scratching the surface and there's still so much to be done. Environmental degradation caused by plastic waste contributes to the emission of greenhouse gases, making it a major concern for all of us. At Owando Foundation, our primary investment is in basic education, supporting access and quality across Nigeria through our Adopt a School initiative. So far, we've adopted 88 schools in Nigeria and supported directly over 500,000 children across the 23 states that we work in. We have a decade-long experience working in this sector, in the education sector specifically. And I know a few people in the room will be wondering, why are you in an environment event if your focus is education? Well, we see education as an essential element in the global response to environmental sustainability, with direct benefits in behavioral change and learning improvements to student beneficiaries. Hence, in 2020, we introduced an environmental education project tagged the Clean Our World project. In partnership with Sumitomo Chemical, a Japanese firm, we're working together to create awareness and empower children and teachers in public primary schools, as well as their host communities where those schools are located, with locally relevant climate action to promote environmental responsibility and sustainability. I must mention that this initiative also aligns with our parent company's clean energy initiatives through the Owando Clean Energy Limited. Through the 3 phases that the project has been implemented, and I think it's important to mention at this point that the GreenHuB Africa Foundation is currently implementing on behalf of the foundation the 3rd phase of the Clean Our World project. Through implementation of this project over the last 3 years, we've been able to reach over 26,000 direct beneficiaries, amongst which are students, teachers, and community members across 10 communities in Lagos State specifically. We have provided specific trainings for over 200 teachers and education managers from the state and the local government on effective ways to cascade environmental education with practical solutions that children will find endearing and can replicate across the schools and communities. There are 3 key areas that we target through the Clean Our World project. The first, like I mentioned, is environmental education, helping children to learn about the climate and how to take positive actions to help protect the environment. And this has a huge box under it, including activities such as gardening, strengthening the environmental clubs in the schools. We have recycling and upcycling components under it. For recycling so far through the Clean Our World project, we've been able to recycle over 13,000 kilograms of plastic waste just through the project alone. Because we're short of time, there's so much we've done, but there's so little we can talk about so that we can move on as we still have a long day ahead of us. But I want you to know that Owando Foundation remains committed to designing and implementing multidimensional education and environment-focused programs and interventions that support our schools, communities, and Nigerian government in realizing the Sustainable Development Goals. Together, we believe that we can beat plastic pollution and raise generations of eco-conscious children committed to a cleaner and a healthier world. I thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tonia. We appreciate the insightful words. I would like us to also give a round of applause to those watching us virtually. Thank you for joining us. Please let us know where you're watching us from. You can leave your name in the comments and your name and your location in the comments, and I'll pick it up from there. But our next guest is already standing by. She's joining us virtually, Dr. Ini Obong Awe. She's joining us virtually and she'll be giving her remarks right away. Over to you, Doctor. Can you hear us?
Thank you very much. Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the honor given to me by the organizers of this program. Greetings from UN Bonn, where I'm participating with other countries at this very board meeting every year. Discussing the issue that relates very well with the global climate change issues. Thank again the organizers for making this ritual every year. And I have listened very closely with the roles that the children, the future generation will play in the theme of this year's World Environment Day. For us in the government sector, we are doing all we can, ensuring evolving national policies, national actions, and strategies towards within the context of mitigating climate change. Just really speaking to mention, sustainable waste management is key to mitigating climate change. And that is the underlying message for the theme that is being discussed today. On that note, I want to say that the ministry appreciates what you're doing, the Department of Climate Change Forum, to building partnerships that will move all of that which we are proposing to do to ensure that plastic waste is kept to a minimum and is limited. Today has committed in the powers of women. Thank you very much. I look forward to joining you in person in the next meeting.
Said very clearly, but we have a session coming up shortly, but I would like to recognize members in this room from UNIDO, UNESCO, and from UNICEF. Thank you so much for joining us. A round of applause for them. And UNDP. The next session we are having is going to be moderated by Dr. Tubo Laifa Warikumo. She's going to having this session with Sima Sholaton, who is going to be joining us virtually. Adejoke Lasisi, please, if you are here, please join us, please. A round of applause for her as she comes up stage. Adedapo Adedeji, please join us upstage. Dr. Efe Okobia is already here with us. And Mr. Oluyomi Banjo from UNIDO. He's the Environment Expert UNIDO Regional Office Hub for ECOWAS. A round of applause for our panelists. Dr. Moma Enang. Good morning, almost afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for staying with us. Apologies for a bit of the mishaps that have happened with the names. I'm sure you guys have been having a very fantastic session. I've learned so much. I think it was Mr. Damien. Apologies if it's Dr. Damien. I know there's sensitivities with these things, but yeah. Following what Prof has said will not be very easy, but we will try. We will try to have, a conversation amongst us here in the table. We have, a crop of people here, some from within the UN system, and then from the CSO space and NGO, but everyone doing something significant around the theme of today's event, which is to beat plastic pollution. So without wasting so much of your time, I would give it to my panelists to do a quick round of introductions. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Dapo Adediji. I'm head of research at the Pan-African University Life and Earth Sciences, domiciled at the University of Ibadan, Oyo State. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Enang Moma. I work with the science sector of UNESCO. UNESCO is United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oluyomi Banjo, National Program Coordinator, Environment and Energy for United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ade Jokela Sisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Efek Bidiki Limsin Okobia. I'm privileged to be the national president of Nigerian Environmental Society. Thank you.
We also have Sima Choleton or Cholaton. Please pardon me if I mispronounce. I also have a very wonderful name, Warikromo. I'm sure most people cannot pronounce it, so that's my excuse. I can see that she's online. Let's try. Very quickly.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning. Okay, we'll just go very quickly. Now that the internet is very favorable with us, let's start with our online guests before things start going off the roof. Now, a quick one. Given your role in sustainability and corporate communications, I would like you to shed some light in the efforts taken by your organization to provide solutions to plastic pollution.
All right, thank you for the question. So firstly, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Sima, the Director of Sustainability and Corporate Communications at IHS Nigeria. IHS Nigeria is a telecoms infrastructure company, and we've been in business for over 20 years. When we talk about telecoms infrastructure, it's sort of different from what you would expect from mobile network operators. So we provide what you would call a mast. Just again, sound check. Please, can you hear me? Sound check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you let her know in the room? Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'll proceed. Yeah. Okay. So as a business, for us, because we are in the telecoms infrastructure space, the waste that is closest to us is actually e-waste. But we do not live in isolation of the world. We know the impact that plastic waste is currently, creating, and I'm talking about the negative impact. And so under our sustainability pillar of environment and climate change, you've identified plastic pollution as one of the ways that we can support both internally as a business and also working with other stakeholders to address. Now, we've heard various statistics here in the room today. Those numbers are staggering, and I'm not going to go into those numbers, now. We all know that consumption of plastic has increased in the last 30 years. We know that, the amount of plastics in the oceans, in landfill is really staggering. However, we know that there's also this collaboration globally to address issues around pollution and waste, especially when you look at SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production. But for us now, focusing on IHS as a business, there are a few things we are doing and a few things we've done in the past. From 2017, for instance, we integrated workplace recycling in our offices. We've worked with several organizations, for instance, the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, to address, plastic pollution in various ways, awareness, advocacy, and we are currently providing startup grants to small-scale organizations that are really within the waste space. Because for us, we also believe in scale-up. We believe in empowering people, empowering systems that would enable our resources go far. But I would like to focus on one major initiative, which was really a defining factor for us last year, and which really opened up our minds to the reason why plastic pollution is important for us as corporates to really get involved with. This was a partnership with the Lagos State Environment Protection Agency, LASEPA, and initially our aim was actually to improve air quality monitoring and improvement strategy. Now, as a business, what we do is we set up base stations, we put in power, and we provide security for our clients, the mobile network operators, to set up their equipment. Now, what we notice is, obviously, we all know that our grid system in Nigeria is not so great. So over the years, we have used fossil fuels, although at this point in time, we are beginning to change that and use more renewable sources. However, we wanted to do a bit more around improving air quality. Now, at the point when we were doing our research, working with LASEPA and other stakeholders, we discovered that aside from, maybe switching to gas from diesel, plastic also provided a very, very significant input into air quality, especially in Nigeria. Burning of plastics, the way the way they are even recycled, the way they are managed, the way they are disposed, all of that was a major attribute or major contributor to bad air quality in areas where we tested. So we decided to put in place a plan to really address this. Now, starting off, we conducted a study. The study was around, knowledge, acceptance, and practice of plastic. It was actually plastic we focused on to be able to solve our air quality monitoring issues. Now, looking at this, the whole aim for us was to really understand what the underserved or the, what you would say, the unserved, what they thought about plastic. So right here, all of us are in this room. We have also young people, students, and some of us are very advanced, and we understand the impact of plastic pollution to our country, to the environment. But what of the everyday Nigerian? Are they really interested in what we're talking about? If we really want to create the right impact, we need to get them, involved in this. And so we decided to focus on those groups of people. And so we selected a community in Lagos State here, and we worked very closely with them. We went in, we did needs assessment, and we were able to interview about 440 people. Now, with interviewing these 440 people, it was, it was important to note that many of them understood the fact that plastic wasn't so good for the environment. So about 42% of them were aware of, plastic and how it affected air pollution and the dangers of plastic to our environment. But at that engagement session, we realized that about 34% of them just became aware of the fact that plastic really had such a huge impact on their everyday lives, their livelihoods, their health. 34% just realized that day. And so it became really important for us to focus on awareness, on advocacy, and putting in place the right types of initiatives. So it's good to talk, it's good to do communication, but what would elevate, this awareness, this advocacy to the next level?
Jessima, thank you so much. You're giving us another lecture. We need to move on rather quickly. And I wanted to just reiterate that we have 2 panel sessions. This one is on innovative solutions in environmental sustainability. How can we innovate around, the problem of plastic pollution? Paying special cognizance to what Prof has already lectured us today, that when we're thinking about innovation, we should think about it correctly. We should not be looking at just, having knowledge transfer, but knowledge exchange, looking at homegrown solutions, and how we will not further compound the problems that we already have existing. He gave us example of, when we innovated and started using asbestos as the better roofing sheets, but now we know that those ones contribute to causing cancer, especially for women. So we're going to move on very quickly to our other panelists. And we'll be discussing about, how we innovate around plastic pollution and innovative solutions in the environment space. So I'll just go from my left and go straight to Efe Okobia, Dr. Efe Okobia, to make his intervention. Thank you.
Once again, let me thank Henry Bassi for bringing us to the UN House. Nigerian Environmental Society has a spread at the moment over 28 states. Now, what we do mainly is advocacy and awareness campaign. But we have actually taken it further this year, looking at the team from the World Environment Day. All the states had physical engagements and collaborations with one agency of government or the other. I want to a little bit digress to 2016. It's just unfortunate that this issue is coming up now. In 2016, we had engagements with the 6 area councils in the FCT. And what we were bringing and offering to them at that time was a recycling system. And we approached the 6 area council chairpersons. It was only the Buhari area council chairperson who thought we were coming for a business proposal that wanted to sign a formal contract with us. And we said, no, we're an NGO. What we've brought to you is a solution to recycling waste and also create economic value for your people. So we have that solution still in our kitty, and we are willing to make it available. I want to also appreciate UNIDO. I've had engagements with Banjo on several occasions with regards to their plastic recycling pilot projects. But be that as it may, for NES, we have vast professionals. We have students who are actually reaching out to, just yesterday, we were at the NAF base, also to enlighten the Little Angels in the Little Angels School on the impact of climate change and how they can, at their age begin to, also educate their parents. So we are doing a lot, and this is not, there's not enough time for me here to expatiate on what Nigerian Environmental Society is doing. We're also having 5 states, Kwara, Taraba, Adamawa, Borno, Benue, Nasarawa, coming up as full-fledged chapters. So you see, at the moment, we are looking at 33 states coverage. So we have quite a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to guide that conversation a little bit because you touched on something that is key. That is engagement at the local level, right? So we know that the circular economy also thrives where there are financial incentives for reuse of these products. So from your engagement, I can see that you've gone to the local level, you've spoken to some local government chairmen, and you've tried to, have them see this thing from the economic perspective, right? What extent can culture, such culture be sustained in vulnerable communities where local government administration is almost non-existent, or sometimes they're existing, but they do not have like a fair understanding of these issues from your perspective and your engagement within your networks?
Now, that's a very interesting question, because most time when you engage people that are not literate, you need to actually cascade the message down appropriately. So you find out in the chapters where we have, the states where we have chapters, most of the chapter chairpersons and members, actually interact in the local dialects. So information dissemination at that point is very, very seamless. When the flood, just to stress on that, when the flood last year hit the Niger Delta, what we did at Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers was to reach out to the locals. And we could only do that, not in English language, but the local dialects to be able to also help in palliative measures. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Like I said, we have 2 panels, even though I know most of them are interrelated and they're going to touch on each other. There's a panel on, using education and advocacy to drive some of these issues, and you have spoken to that. Thank you so much. And I want to also thank, we have a climate change and environment network within the UN system, and they're present here. We have people from UNDP, from IOM, from UNESCO sitting with me, UNIDO. Thank you very much. And I want to assure you that the conversations that are happening here, notes are being taken. We have Oise Shara at the back as well. And then we'll try to see how we can drive some of these things forward. I'll move very quickly to my next panelist. This is Jokela Sisi. She's been doing a lot in the upcycling space. If you look at the outfit she's wearing, there's recycled plastic as part of the outfit. So a round of applause for her. She's one of the people that are spreading this message of using recycled plastic to generate wealth and empower women and vulnerable people. Madam Joke, very quickly, my question, innovations abound within the upcycling space, and the value chain of products made from upcycling has been on the increase. Can you please share from your experience as a stakeholder in this space? What has it been like? Are we just seeing the glamour on social media? Is this really, have you really gotten the support that you need? What are the challenges? Is it really a pathway for, economic freedom for most people? And also going back to Prof's lecture, I want us to also reflect on that. Are we creating more damages to the environment with some of these products? Just to reflect on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. First, I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity to be here today and to also share my experience. Once again, my name is Adi Jokela Sisi, and I'm founder of creative director of Planet 3R. And what we do at Planet 3R is that we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. What actually started the initiative was the road along, there's this street along my environment then where I used to stay. And whenever you are going on that bridge, it's a very narrow bridge. So during rainy season, once there is rain like this, we will not be able to go into the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, people will not be able to go to work because the water would have been too much that nobody will be able to cross it. And at the end of the day, when the water goes away, you realize that there are a lot of dirt, a lot of nylons, a lot of plastic bottles. They are just there, like some were brought from other place and that place too. And honestly, these people in this community cannot pay government or even waste disposal company to come and pack the waste. Actually, what they say in my country, I don't know, I'm going to translate it, I'll try. They will say, like they cannot use money to buy food and still use money to throw away the waste. So that is the belief of most people. So, and when you look at it, we realize that like many people could not really even feed themselves. Are they the people you now encourage to now come and pay dispose waste? They will not even listen to you. Food is the cocoa first. That's the main thing for them. So it was so I look at it as, I was like, okay, no matter how I want to tell people to like stop using nylon, I need to give them an alternative. You can't tell people to stop using things without something else for them to use. And I looked at it, I look at the environmental sector, many people that are working in upcycling sector, you know, majority of us, the thing that comes to our mind when we hear the word plastic is usually just PET bottles. Like we forget that there are other kind of plastics, like all these plastic bags, pure water sachets, detergents, a lot of them. Even now, many organizations now use, when we're growing up, we didn't have much just sachet like this. But now, everything now, like small container, they just put it in, even palm oil, everything inside sachet. As in like, you know, there are just plenty out there. So, but majorly, I now realize that a lot focus more on the plastic bottles. Fine, that too is there, but we had a lot when it comes to the sachet. So I looked at it that, okay, this problem that is in this community, how can I create a solution at the same time create an opportunity for the women and the girls in the same community? So I decided to now use the weaving skill that I've acquired from my mom since I was 9 years old. So I now use it to convert those nylon bags that I see in the community. I was like, okay, let me just, honestly, when I started it, it didn't work out fine. Even me, I cannot buy my first product. It was not good at all. Like it was embarrassing. But I kept on going like, okay, let us keep improving on this. And one thing about our solution is that it doesn't cause any other environmental hazard. We don't burn this thing. We don't, you know, everything is just the way we collect the nylons, we wash them and, you know, thoroughly sterilize them. We make sure that we dry them, shred them, and now weave. Everything is just a local way. And since we started, it has actually attracted a lot of young people into the environmental space. You know, a lot of people that never thought that it could be lucrative, like, okay, this kind of work. When they saw that, okay, that we started taking our products outside the country to go and sell, like, what? This waste that you guys are seeing here. Thank you. Thank you. From the waste here, and even the Federal Ministry of Environment reached out to us that they would need that. Can you make bags for our conference? And we made it for them. We sent it to Abuja, you know, through the same ways. Thank you. So we use pure water sachets a lot because we realize that masses, majorly, a lot of people drink more pure water than even the bottle, the plastic that we see, because not everybody can actually afford, maybe because of where my own location, but honestly, when you look at majority of people, they cannot afford that bottle, so they just buy the 10 naira, 20 naira pure water sachet. And the funnest thing about that pure water sachet is that even if you don't finish that water inside, you cannot keep it in your bag. You can still keep that one in the PET bottle, you can still keep it in your bag, just put it by the side. But pure water nylon, once you just finish, whether you finish it or not, you throw it away, isn't it? So, like, you know, I looked at it, I made a little bit of research, because when we first came up with it, It looked boring. Like when you just see it, you just be like pure water nylon. This is pure water nylon. It looks so. We did a customer survey to discover it, to be able to understand what people really want. How did they want it? And the feedback actually helped us in now understanding, okay, this is what they want. So let me show you something. Could you believe that this was made from detergent sachets? Yes. From detergent sachets, yes. And we made this from pure water sachets. Yes. Yes. This, thank you. We used 250 sachets of pure water to make this. So so far, since we started for the past 3 years, because we started Planetary in year 2020, we've been able to get support from the federal government. We won the MSME of the year 2020. We're giving, thank you. We're giving a brand new car. We're giving a cash prize to support us. We also got support from the Canadian government to help support. Thank you. To help support what we do. And overall thing is that we've been able to create employment opportunity for 21 people and also collect more waste. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. That's amazing work. Well done. We are all so proud of you. Everyone in the room is another round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it's a woman doing it. Okay. Thank you so much. Enough of the fun. But there's something she said. She said it in Yoruba. That people have not seen money to feed themselves is to take away the waste. So it's a real issue. It is painful, and we learned, from the UNEP report, also from the UNEP director yesterday. I don't know if any of you joined the Twitter space we had yesterday. That over 90% of the plastic that we have in Africa is the same thing as the climate change challenge. Do not originate from Africa, because plastic waste, a transboundary issue. For example, maybe some of the ones that are flying around here, they're coming from Nasarawa state or coming from another state or another country, So, but we're not going to sit down and fold our hands. This is somebody that is doing something, creating employment, generating income. And I'm glad that there are young people here. You can see great examples that you can emulate. So thank you again. I'll move quickly. I was going to give the UN colleagues last, but I don't want any challenge of non-inclusion. So, we're here, leave no one behind. So if we've started like this, we continue like this till the end. Yeah, so I'll just quickly go to my colleague from UNIDO. UNIDO, they're big in this space. They've been doing a lot on plastic pollution. I'm not going to guide nothing, but I just want you to talk about the solutions. People have talked about challenges. People have talked about the things that civil society is doing. I want to talk about the solutions, the work that the UN is doing through UNIDO, and then what other collaborative efforts that we can do together. I'm glad members of the environment network within the UN, they're here. We're all listening. How can we take this a step further? And for everyone sitting down here, we know the UN is not the government. The UN can only support the government in its drive to achieve these things. So the responsibility does not lie on the UN 100%, just to clarify. So Mr. Yomi, over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me ask a question. Look at everything you've come with. Can anybody here tell me that they don't have plastics on them? Something made from plastic? Your glasses, your clothes, jewelry. Good. Right. So this tells us how important plastics is as a product. So we've heard the figures today. For Nigeria, we've also heard some of the figures. Over 30 million tons of solid waste produced from Nigeria, over 2 million out of it is plastics. And for a population of over 200 million people, we have our per capita consumption has grown from 4 kg to 6.5 kg. So which means every one of us sitting in this room, averagely, we consume 6.5 kg of plastics. Multiply that, that is a lot. We've heard that just about 14% of plastics is collected. Out of that 14, which means there is over 80% not collected. They are lying somewhere, either in your room, in the gutter, in the oceans. They are lying, they are somewhere. But out of even that small percentage of 14% collected, only about 9% is recycled. What does this also tell us? We are losing a big business opportunity. Waste plastics is not just about the environment, but we've seen that there is an economic side to it and there is a social side to it. Have you asked yourself one question, that why is the world so interested in plastics waste? I mean, why is it not just Nigeria that is interested? Because what you generate in Nigeria may not necessarily end in Nigeria. So if you generate plastics waste in Nigeria and you kill my fishes in Côte d'Ivoire, so you are naturally causing food insecurity for me. If you burn plastics by the border in Calabar and the toxic chemicals goes into Cameroon, you are endangering the health of my people. So for us as UN, as UNIDO, how can we help to galvanize support for the country, bring stakeholders together, help the country to create an enabling environment to combat these problems? That is what we are doing. And firstly, we have supported the government of Nigeria. We work together to develop the national policy on solid waste management and the national policy on plastics waste management. So these two policies are not just sitting on the shelf. The Nigerian government made its own efforts to make sure that the Federal Executive Council approved these two policies. So Nigeria has a policy framework to work with. Secondly is, a lot of people don't even know the dangers of this plastics waste. The ones that know, they don't know what to do to combat it. So we went a step ahead to, in partnership with the government, to develop a plastics value chain assessment, which also looks at alternative to plastics. And here we worked with the federal government through the Federal Ministry of Environment and state governments, actually piloted in Lagos and the FCT. After doing that, so we said, governments, we have worked together to create the policy framework. We have worked together to look at the baseline, to see what are the problems, who are those involved, what can be done, and the recommendations. Now let's move to the real action, which is implementation of this policy. So here we now started to galvanize partnerships. And let me also say this, without partnerships, it will be very difficult in any country to combat plastic waste problems. So we started galvanizing partnerships. We started by working with partners from both public and private sector. Example is the government of Japan. And what are we doing? We went into developing a project for Nigeria. So this project, one, we will look at developing the implementation guidelines for this national policy on plastics waste management. This is important if you are a private sector person. You cannot be ignorant of the policy and regulatory framework of your line of business in your country. So, but in doing this, the first drafting will start next week. And in doing this, we have brought in all stakeholder groups, from representative of the manufacturers to representative of NGOs. Nigerian Environment Society will be a part of it. Government at state, federal and local government levels will be a part of it. So we do that. Then we go to state level, where we work with state governments to pilot part of the value chain activities. So from collection to sorting to recycling, we will do this. And also what we'll also do is partner with some private sector to establish collection centers. This was said this morning, that what are the things needed? Things like collection centers. So which means investments will also go into this. Then we go to the last part, which we work strictly with the industries. If you realize you can't find plastics on your table except it has been manufactured from the resin level by a manufacturer. So if your plastic bottles, your pen, everything, it has been manufactured by somebody. And we have to work with them if we have to combat these problems. So we are also working with the manufacturers. And what are we doing with them? We will help them with the process of resource efficiency and cleaner production. What sort of raw materials are they using, especially for their packaging materials? How are they using it? Also, in the process of manufacturing these products, are they contributing to climate change? Let me also say that plastics contributes about 3% to global, to greenhouse warming. So if we combat plastic waste, we are also solving climate change problems. So that is what we are doing. But we are also talking to other partners. Presently, we are in discussion with the European Union as well in the development of another project. But I think the most important thing is how do we work with the private sector? You are the ones at the heart of this industry. If these problems is solved with the private sector, it's solved with everybody, because whatever framework the government puts on the ground, it is implemented by you and I. So for us at UNIDO, we are open to working with everybody. At the moment, we are working with nothing less than 30 NGOs and SMEs who are into plastics waste management, and we are ready to work with more. So if you are an NGO, if you're an SME doing what something like Doing Solar is doing here, please feel free to reach out to us. If you are government and you are also in this line, we are very happy to work with you. And especially also, we are also very happy to work with the international partners. So let's bring ourselves together, stakeholders engagement, awareness, the right technologies, and yes, we will solve plastic waste problems. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, as he has reiterated, galvanizing partnership is key, and we need a whole of society approach. So not just one person, we are all stakeholders. Remember the quiz Prof gave us when he said we should close our eyes, and we all answered wrongly, but then the answer to that question is the people. So it's a whole of society approach. The plastic originates from us. We are the ones that dispose it, and then we are the ones that face the consequences. So we all need to put hands together and work together to solve the problem. And to the kids, I can see that some of you are trying to zone out. I'm going to quiz you. I'm going to ask you questions. So pay attention. And the pen that you have in your hand, make sure that you're not just doodling or making cartoons, because I'll throw some questions to you. Anyways, we'll move quickly to Dr. Enang for her intervention.
Thank you very much, Tupo, for giving me the floor. Good afternoon once again to you distinguished participants. My name is Enang Moma. I am the head of science sector for UNESCO. UNESCO is an intellectual agency of the UN, and We have 193 member states, and Nigeria is one of our member states. And we support our member states to achieve sustainable development and build peace. Our focal areas is gender and Africa. And some of our key thematic areas include youth development, disability inclusion, and environmental sustainability. So we're very happy to see young people here because we're also very interested in their development. And so I'll just be telling you a bit of what we are doing to beat plastics, because the theme of the World Environment Day, which was yesterday, we're also commemorating it today. It's beats to beat the plastics. And so I'm going to be telling you a bit of what we do to prevent plastic pollution. I'm not going to go so much into what Prof has already told us, but I feel I should also tell you a bit of what we're doing to protect the environment in general. We have what we call the Man and Biosphere program, where we have a biosphere reserve, and biosphere reserve are designated sites. They're carbon sink, and in Nigeria we have like 4 of them. We also ensure that our countries use biodiversity in a sustainable manner. We also protect the oceans. You know what the ocean does? The ocean has a lot of positive implication in absorbing greenhouse gases. And then we also look at indigenous knowledge systems. All what we're talking about plastics, we've not mentioned indigenous knowledge, and they are very key. The indigenous knowledge is very key in, all what we do, including reducing plastic pollution. And then also we use our designated sites, which, to ensure that we assist our member states to achieve, and indeed the planet to achieve environmental sustainability. What are some of the facts about plastic solution? Our erudite professor here has told us, but just for emphasis, we know that plastic is persistent. In fact, they are classed as persistent organic pollutants. And then, of course, they clog the landfills. They are they enter the food chain, because invariably, when they start degrading, they will become microplastics. And then this can be ingested by the proteins that the animals that we source proteins to take. And of course, like I said, Prof has really told us a lot about that. So I will not go into that. But let me just go to what we do. What does UNESCO do to help member states to beat plastics? What do we do to reduce plastic pollution? It is quite hard to, retrieve plastic from water bodies, for example, or retrieve plastic from even land. So what we do is to reduce, reuse, and recycle, the 3 R's. And we try to, as much as possible, use our programs and projects to assist our member states to prevent plastic waste from entering into rivers and into the seas. And the first thing that we do is to increase awareness on individual commitments. All of us, we have a commitment to ensure that plastics, is used. We cannot eliminate it because we use it. We use plastic buckets. This is made of plastics. We use plastic glass. Our glass frame is plastic. So you cannot totally eliminate it. And so what you have to take, you have to be committed to ensure that it is reduced. Where you have alternatives, use alternative. Where you have paper bags to use, why don't you opt for paper bags? Where you can, be carrying your mugs instead of buying bottled water and encouraging that to be used, you use that. So whatever you can do to get alternatives, we encourage you to do it. UNESCO has a convening power. So we convene, we work with member state different authorities to ensure that we create this awareness on people, communities, government, policy makers, decision makers, even to the parliament. We do this kind of awareness. And then we also build capacity. UNESCO is a capacity builder. We build capacity on some of those technologies that we could use to reduce pollution. For example, we have the satellite observation where you can, use to observe, and you're able to track pollution of plastics in water. And to that end, we have what we call the UNESCO water quality portal. We had trained some Nigerian water experts on this. So we use this kind of thing to track where pollution is. And then we also train member states to understand the use of artificial intelligence so that they can understand the natural systems and, be able to track this pollution, plastic pollution. And if you're able to track it, you may be able to do a better cleanup, because there's what we call cleanup. And we also work with our different networks to do this cleanup. And then the other thing that UNESCO does is to support research and write policies. There was a time we had a program on microplastics in Nigeria where we commissioned studies at University of Ibadan and University of Lagos and for the Lagos Lagoon to check, the rate of pollution, especially on microplastics. So we support research to that extent. And then we also support right policies. We help the member states to check what policies they're doing in terms of, somebody talked about, we have beautiful policies, we can't implement them. It's because we don't go through policy cycles. And so UNESCO has the competence to do that, to ensure that policies are rightly designed, monitored, reviewed, and then do another agenda setting, as it were. And then we also give technical support. You need money to prevent plastic pollution. And so UN, like my colleagues here said, may not have that much money to give you, but we have the competence, UNESCO has the competence to join efforts with governments, with CSOs to elaborate bankable projects that we can use to mobilize funds. There are people that have money more than the UN and they're willing to help, but you have to present and justify what you want to use the money for, and we can give you that kind of technical support. So these are the three I felt I should just highlight for us what we do. Now I'll just get an excerpt from a biologist who said, it is the worst of times, but it is the best of times. It is the worst of times that we are. We're using plastics a lot. It's the worst of times, but it is the best of times because we still have a chance. So let us make the best of this chance. We can all make choices to protect our planet. It is not too late. And that choices we have to make is to take personal commitment, is to use existing, leverage the existing, the existing platforms, and UN, UNESCO, we are existing platforms for you to leverage. And then of course we have to cooperate. We cannot do, it's not a solo thing. We have to cooperate to reduce plastics as much as possible so that our environment will be safe. Thank you very much, Tubo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moma. Like you said, we need to reduce, reuse, and recycle. She has also touched on some advocacy and capacity building. We have colleagues from UNICEF that are going to, plus other stakeholders. I'll be speaking on the second panel around education and advocacy to elaborate a bit further on that. And then there's also another session that would make the kids feel less bored. But we hope that you're listening because, the future is already here. So you are the future. The future is today. So whatever we're talking about for the planet and for the environment is for all of us, including you. So please take it a bit more serious. We would have our colleague from IHSTowers intervene very shortly, immediately after Dr. Adedeji. We would have Sima, so please just be on standby. So Dr. Adedeji, focusing on the life cycle approach to which is key to sustenance of the circular economy. To what extent do you think that there is a buy-in among high consuming sectors, primarily companies focused on plastic packaging and manufacturing? I know you're also coming from the academic space, even though we know UNESCO has touched a bit on that. So from your experiences, just give us your interview.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Dapo Adedeji. I am from the Pan-African University Life and Earth Sciences Institute. We are domiciled within the premises of the University of Ibadan, but the PAU is an initiative of the African Union, and we have institutes all across Africa. And the one that is in charge of West Africa is in Ibadan, and that's where I come from. So we have students all across Africa from the 54 countries in Africa, and they come for their postgraduate programs mainly, and they're fully funded by the AU. And then one of the programs, the 7 programs we have in the institute, is environmental management, and that's where plastic solutions come into play. Briefly, because of time, I will just go straight to the point and say that for companies who produce a lot of plastics, it's important that they do more in their approach towards plastic management. They've been doing quite a lot, but they can do more. And one thing I would want to emphasize is incentives. Prof mentioned it when he was speaking, that the companies, companies need to incentivize their approach towards plastic management. Another thought that I would also love to share is the plastic itself. Can we take a step backward and try to see the content of this plastic? How can we modify it? How can we enhance or improve it, that they become more biodegradable, they become more sustainable? And this is where the aspect of research comes in. You cannot solve some of these problems without, devoting resources and efforts into research. And I'll give one example that we have at the institutes where I come from. We're able to get funding from the British Council, and we have a project that uses the 3D printing model for plastic management. So basically, we are collecting plastics from different aspects of the environment, trying to feed it into the 3D system and see if we can, optimize that model and have it as part of the circular plastic economy system. So that's one approach, and it's one out of many that I think a lot of companies and a lot of high-end producers can adopt towards plastic management. And lastly, it's important, and I would not want to overstress it, that the town and the gown has to have more interactions. It can't be overemphasized, because it seems as if the academia is just in one world, and the private sector is in another world, and the government is in another world. That's not going to happen with plastic, because we all consume plastic. It's a problem that affects everybody. So there has to be more interaction, and it's a challenge for the private sector. Come up with initiatives, bring problems to the universities. We have capable hands who can solve them. You'll be surprised. We have students who undertake research, who are very, very eager to solve problems, as far as plastics is concerned. So that's where I would put a stop to it because of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really want to anchor on the last statement that you made, that the town and the gown needs to, come together more frequently, because the truth is there are a lot of not just beautiful policies, also beautiful researches and researchers that could contribute to, advancing and giving us a better sustainable society, but they're not being harnessed as much as they should. Thank you so much, Dr. Adedeji. I'll go quickly to Sima. Now, IHS, we know they've been doing a lot of work across the 6 geopolitical zones, and a lot has been said about, there needs to be awareness. Companies need to, provide solutions and all of that. In your perspective, and from the perspective of IHS, what solutions should we really be looking at beyond awareness? Incorporating a all of society approach, bringing in young people, bringing in everyone. Where do you think the direction should really be at? Sima, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So again, we've had different thoughts in the room, and I will just sort of sum it up because because we've had different perspectives on how we can really, solve plastic pollution without. Sorry, there's an echo.
We can actually hear you clearly. Please go ahead. If there's an echo.
Okay, all right, it's great now. Thank you. Right, so various ideas have been shared in the room, and really just to sum it up, to solve the problem of plastic pollution beyond awareness, we need to look at the entire value chain. We need to look at creating social enterprises, from the various parts of the plastic value chain, from production all the way to waste management. Collaboration is very key. No one sector can do this alone. We need to all work together from various sectors, various public sector, private sector, CSOs, and then lastly is the use of technology. If you look at the countries across the world that have been able to, in one way or the other, address this in a very large scale, technology has played a huge role. So again, we need to look at how technology can help. There's artificial intelligence, there's looking at packaging as a service. There's advanced recycling going on across the world. There's even what we call decomposition technologies, where microorganisms are brought into the decomposition process, and it helps to really reduce plastic to a point where you can even reuse some of the reagents for remanufacturing. So again, we really need to look at the entire value chain, come together, collaborate, and see how we can create social enterprises from this, create livelihood from this, and we would see that the entire process would work out itself. Just to close and just to reiterate something that was said in the opening remark, a particular quote was given, which is we can reduce 80% of plastic pollution by 2040 if we act now. So the time to act is now, and I'm hoping that from these types of conversations we can begin to drive that. Thank you.
She has even helped us to finalize with a call to action. The time to act is now, and we need to look at the entire value chain, which brings me back to what UNIDO said we're doing with the plastic value chain. So I think people need to start talking to themselves. All of the stakeholders need to start working together. We need an all of society approach. She also reiterated what Dr. Adedeji said, from how these plastics are produced, we should look at better biodegradable version of plastics. So thank you so much, Sima. I gave you additional time, but you chose to conclude. So yeah, we know sometimes when you're joining online, it's a bit challenging, but the internet has been very favorable to us, was it not? Okay. We are wrapping up this panel here. We'll only give room if there's a very burning question, very, very burning question that have not been answered. I know my panelists have done a very fantastic job. They've touched every aspect. So am I permitted to release them now, or your question is really burning?
If you have a question, I'll just pass the mic over to you. If you have a question.
Very burning question, sir. Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for yielding the floor to me. My name is Town Planner Sani Ademu. I'm a town planner and an environmentalist. I work with the Federal Capital Development Authority, and I'm a fellow of the Nigerian Environmental Society. And I want to thank Prof for a wonderful presentation, which touched my heart. And I want to thank Madam and the President of the NES. My observations are on the issue of plastic pollution. In Nigeria, we have a peculiar situation. Now, if you look at this bottled water that is now consumed in every family home, it has become an elitist thing, which is very worrisome, because the authorities are not able to provide good potable water that can be consumed at homes. So it's now something to show that I have money, my money can buy me pure water, or no, I upgrade to bottled water because I've now become an elitist. So I want us to also look at that area and how we can bridge that attitudinal problem, due to some gaps in service provisions by the government. If there is good and potable water that people can drink in their homes, I believe will reduce significantly the issue of one aspect of plastic pollution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that question. If I may quickly respond, there are two issues here. One, the federal government and state government in Nigeria didn't just stop supplying water. That was United Nations policy. When they were trying to bring in the private sector under the structural adjustment, I could tell you a lot of water pipes and everything that were deposited somewhere at Ipoba military barracks by another UN body, another body, they stopped it. They were the ones that introduced a borehole water. As a way, the policy was when people start paying for water, they will begin to sort of optimize the use of water. At that time, including myself and people like Professor Adedeji, who was the UN Secretary for Africa at the time, who wrote Alternative to Structural Adjustment, we protested, but nobody listened to us. Okay, the chicken is come home to roost. So most of these things, it's going to be difficult now. All the pipes underground are rotting. And where are you going to start? So the best way forward now is this estate that is being developed now. And that's a model going forward. If every estate is required, to provide water in a way that they can sort of ration it and supply it. The other issue of water as a status symbol is everywhere. When water, first of all, came up in bottles in the UK, people used to fill bottled water with tap water and put it on their table. We are human beings. It doesn't just have to be in Nigeria here. We have seen all these sort of things before. But I think the most important thing is to talk to people, to educate them, and let them know what the consequences of their actions are. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Without further ado, I would excuse my panelists and myself, and then we'll go straight to the next session. So the kids can be happy a little bit.
Yes, please. A round of applause for our panelists. Yes, indeed, they've shared their the various ways that they have been innovative about solutions to plastic pollution. A popular quote by Robert Swan says, "The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it." And while we are seated for hours, I feel that there are some people who don't know, the name of your neighbor. Can you just look at your neighbor, introduce yourself, and just say one thing you've learned? Just look at your neighbor, even to the students, look at your neighbor, introduce yourself. One thing you've learned. Dr. Tubo, I've learned something. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Wow. From the reactions in the room, it looks like we've learned so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if I may get your attention. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have an important announcement to make, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I have this announcement is really important. Please, let's listen. Thank you so much. We're not closing yet. There is food for us. That's a very important announcement. Please, there's another session coming up shortly. Just as we've had the innovative ways that, plastic solutions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just as we've heard the panelists share, there are advanced conversations between GreenHuB Africa and IHSTowers in the production of animation, I beg your pardon, and gamification. It means that, we get to see games and animation that talks about climate change. And so this session is going to be mostly virtual. We're going to be having our guests join us online. But before then, a video will come up shortly to tell us more about, this animation and gamification. I've just been asked about water. We are very conscious about the environment. There's a dispenser station behind. So we're not encouraging single-use plastic. So there's a dispenser station behind. Take your cups and then. Oh, so you put yours underneath because you don't want to be called the suspect. Okay, all right. We have a dispenser. Yes, we have a dispenser if you need water. While we wait for the video to come up, joining us virtually to discuss more about the animation and gamification is Obi Asika. He's the co-founder of Social Media Week.
To an African animation studio that serves rich African stories for over 2 decades. Luma Animation. In our 22 years of creativity, we've produced television animated series for the local and global markets. And our focus is using character development and storytelling through using high-end CGI and animation.
Hi, I'm Paul Mayer, CEO and founder of Luma Animation. We are so excited to collaborate with GreenHuB Africa and IHS to bring the climate action superheroes to life using animation. It is so important for us to use the medium of animation to communicate this powerful message to the whole family, to highlight the importance of climate change awareness, leaving this planet a better place than what we found it. Thank you very much.
Our service offering includes visual effects for film features, character development, character animation, and photorealistic visual effects for film and HDTV. Our current notable productions are Shaga Ilene, Kings of Jogo 2, and our first feature film called Headspace, which will be flighted in cinemas. Our 8 climate action superheroes and the series will be brought to life using state-of-the-art techniques such as motion capture, compositing, real-time technology, fused with research and insights to create a highly educational series that will resonate with the intended target market. The series will be touching on a wide range of issues such as climate change, waste management, water resources, environmental impact, and many more sustainability issues. We're excited to be one of the stakeholders in producing one of the most informative edutainment series Africa has ever seen at this critical time in human history.
Now joining us to discuss about edutainment, to engage us, especially the students. The students were happy when they saw the video. A round of applause for GreenHuB Africa. Obi Asika, the co-founder of Social Media Week, and Henry Bassi will be having a conversation now.
Thank you, Esther. I'm not sure if Obi's up. Can we check if Paul Mayer is also up, CEO of Luma?
Henry, can you hear me?
Is Obi there?
Paul is here.
I'm here. Can you
Paul
hear me?
there?
Yes.
Okay, hi, Paul. Paul, we can't hear you. I think it's local. Can we do something about the volume, please? So, I mean,
Can you hear me now?
this segment really just speaks to, the edutainment we've been talking about and how to engage youth more, how to ensure that, because we recognize that this conversation about the environment is not a pretty one, it's not sexy. So how do you make it cool? How do you make it fresh? How do you make it engaging? And that's why we're looking at different formats to still pass on the information and get people to take action. The aspect of animation is one that Paul has spoken to, where he's just said that we're looking at producing something across the 8 characters. But Paul, I'd just like you to explain a bit more how the animation series will drive action. So if you can hear me, please respond to that question. And then if Obi Asika is there, I will also ask him a question. I'm not sure if Sima is there. If Sima is there, I'd like to also get her to say one or two things in this part of the conversation as well.
Can you hear me, Henry?
So Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me? No? No audio?
The volume is low. Can you fix it from behind there, please?
Hi. Can you guys hear it? Can you guys hear it? Anyone?
I can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Trinity. Very excited to be part of it. I think it's obvious to everyone that animation is one of the most powerful communication methods available to mankind at this point in time. Using animation, we don't have to be concerned about the level of engagement with our audience. And we can be confident that we can not only engage the kids, but also engage the parents and the whole family at the same time with using this message. So I think we just look forward to especially using the superhero that's being created by GreenHuB as representatives of the message, and being able to hang all the messaging and the educational information on those superheroes. And those superheroes are characters that the kids can identify with, and they are a summary of the important messaging with regards to the environmental responsibility that we need. So we're very excited. Our plan is to create 8 3-minute episodes, each episode featuring one of the superheroes, each episode tying in 100% with the printed curriculum that is being piloted in the schools by GreenHuB. We will use motion capture technology. We will use keyframe animation. We will use real-time rendering technology. And we will, most importantly, ensure that through compelling storytelling, we will engage the key audience and get the message across. And I think that's the most important thing. And in an entertaining way, we will get this very important message across. And I think it will become a part of the kids' memories as they grow up, as we all remember watching the animation series as kids. Thank you so much. Please feel free to ask any questions if you have. Obi, should I hand over to you? Henry, are there any questions?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I can carry on if you want. Can you guys hear me? I don't know. Henry, can you hear me? Henry, are you hearing me?
I can hear you, Obi.
All right. Nice.
Can hear you, please speak.
Can you hear me in the room? If you can hear me in the room, first of all, just to say it's a pleasure to join. And I was really excited to hear what Paul was saying about the animation that he's developing with GreenHuB. My perspective on this is that animation and gamification is going to change education totally. Will change the culture in the classroom, bringing it home in a different way, and they can feel what it's doing with the animation they're planning. And I also work with a couple of colleagues right now in the States, and we're trying to bring them into and gaming and animation, and really with education courses in climate change, not so much in climate change at the moment, but computer engineering, cybersecurity, biomedical sciences, and STEM as well, because what is happening is obviously education is changing. And I think gamification and all these technologies are changing the way the classroom is existing both in the real world and the virtual world. So definitely, I think it's the way to go. And it's exciting to hear that GreenHuB is already on that track in Nigeria. I don't know if you heard me at all. I have no idea.
Henry, you're muted.
Yeah, Henry, you're muted. Paul, did you hear me?
If she has any comments around what we've said. Sima, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Okay, Sima, yeah, I can see you. So any thoughts around all that has been said, especially with the IHS connection?
Yeah, so again, we all know the importance of technology, digital literacy, connectivity. I'm speaking from a telecoms perspective, and the impact it's creating, not just in Nigeria, but globally. I'm also speaking from the perspective of someone and an organization who has worked, at the base of the pyramid, and the need for making this information, especially when it comes to, like you said, the awareness on environmental sustainability that is not so appealing, on the surface of it, right? Just to make it a bit more relatable to everyone. And I think animation and gamification is one area we can really use, to get more people aware, or get more people to understand what is at stake for everyone globally. Sometimes, when I have a conversation, I'm like, even at my age, I still watch animated series, I still watch cartoons, maybe because I have kids, but I'm sure everyone in the room, one way or the other, we also get to watch, animated series or cartoons that are, interesting. And so we're hoping that we can use this platform, and that's the reason why we're supporting it, to get more eyes, more ears to listen, because obviously from the last panel session, this is something we all need to tackle together, and we need to understand what we are dealing with. If we're saying that it's the elephant in the room, how do we deal with the elephant in the room? Everyone needs to understand how they can pitch in. One other example that I would like to cite is the fact that while I was growing up, we had this huge campaign around HIV/AIDS and how to prevent it, and the likes. And I saw how that campaign really helped in reducing, the prevalence rate in Nigeria. And so we are hoping that we can use these platforms, the animated series, even the school programs, and the gamification related initiatives to get more people to act like we said in the last panel session now. Thank you, and over.
Because we still have one last panel that speaks to environmental education. But before we go there, we need to engage the kids a bit more. So I will have Esther just anchor that bit, and then we can switch to the last panel.
All right, thank you, Henry. A round of applause for the last set of speakers. Now we're handing over to the students from Start Right Schools. You have a word poetry presentation, Damilola Adesoro, Omalicha, Cherry, and Cherry Emmanuel. Please turn on your mics and make your presentation. I think that the students have done exceptionally. A round of applause for them once again. Now, if you heard them correctly, they mentioned some names, some characters, and these characters are represented right here. When you walked into the room, if you had seen cash, maybe you were thinking is money, ego or something. Well, it's an acronym actually. It's Climate Action Superheroes. Let's say it together. Climate Action Superheroes. Yes, while growing up, we had our superheroes, Spider-Man, Superman, so many men and women like that. But now we have different superheroes. And this moment, I've actually been waiting for this moment because we've been hearing the adults speak. It's time for us to hear the students tell us what they understand. Are we ready for that? All right. Now, if you could check under your mic for the students, this exercise is for you. Please raise your mic. There are cards under, yes, there are cards under your mic. Just check. If you find a card, fantastic. So if you find a card, just wave it back at me. Now, these flashcards are, one of the learning tools that they use, that the GreenHuB Africa Foundation uses to teach them in their schools. So today they will be telling us what they understand from these flashcards. Let me see your flashcard. Now, let me explain how this is going to work. You're paired, you're sitting with your friend. So you're going to look at this card. I'll give you about 30 seconds, 45 seconds to tell us, to discuss, and tell us what you understand. And then I'll call you and you tell me, what littering means or whatever is written on your card. Are we ready? All right, so we have 30 seconds. Our time starts now. When you're done, you'd pick one person who is going to speak for your group. Your time starts now. I hope it's not too difficult. Your teacher told me that you can nail it. They told me you understand everything written on that card. We have 20 seconds more. I can see some conversations going down. We have 10 seconds more. Are we almost there? Oh, there's a school ready. Oh, okay, let's start. You're almost there. Okay. How many seconds more do you want? I'm counting down in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ready or not? Here I come. Okay. All right. Please let me have your card, this team. Oh, fantastic. I like this one. It's littering. And I can see a superhero here trying to fight that. But before we talk about this superhero, you are the superheroes we are going to talk about today. You pick one of you, just tell us very, very quickly how we can fight again. Do you agree that we have a problem with littering, first of all? We agree. All right. So you'd bring up a solution and tell us how we can stop that in our environment. Who is speaking for this team?
Okay, I'm Daniel from GSS who says on 3. Okay, you said a way to stop, okay, a way to stop littering. Ways to stop or prevent the littering in our environment. I would say by putting a waste bin on every, like when they were talking, they said the modern way they were building an estate, I think they should put a waste bin in every house doorstep whereby they can dispose it properly instead of littering the environment.
Daniel says we should put waste bins in every house. Do we think this is enough to fix littering in our environments? Do we agree with Daniel? Some people don't agree with Daniel. If you disagree with Daniel, please turn on your mic and tell us what you think.
My name is Damilola Adesoro, and I think what he said is correct. But another thing we can do is that we can make laws for this littering and then enforce the laws, because it's one thing to make laws and another to enforce them. Thank you.
A round of applause. They've been listening. They have been listening. It's one thing to make laws, it's another thing to enforce the laws. And Daniel says that we should have waste bins. Please give these students a round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Is the next team ready? You had enough time to think about it. The next is flooding. It's flooding. Okay, let's listen, guys. I know you're excited to share with us what you've learned. It's flooding. Has anyone here experienced flooding at all? There's something called 7-day rain. You've experienced it. They can relate very well in Lagos. They know what I'm talking about. I'm going to just face this direction. They know what I'm talking about in Lagos. So when it rains like that, it gets flooded. Who can give us a solution to flooding? All right, please turn on your mic. Introduce yourself and tell us.
My name is Daniel Luwato Inshew. I am from JSS State Zone 3. To prevent flooding, we have to prevent overgrazing and our debt. We should know where we can like all the wastage, all these things, we are supposed to put it at the exact places, dispose it well, so don't cause flooding. Then digging of the soil, digging of the ground can cause flooding.
Did we hear that? All right. Does anyone have something to add to that, or we all agree? Okay, go on. Turn on your mic and tell us.
Flooding, like she said, is when we should like the list is flooding. How can we prevent flooding? We should stop cutting down trees. They also prevent flooding too, like deforestation and other means like that.
I think that we're talking to very, very intelligent students. A round of applause for them. Thank you. To the next card. Are we ready? Please let me have your card. Oh, waste disposal in water bodies. I like this one. Who's your speaker, please?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. A special respect. So my name is Onyebichi Blessing Oluchukwu. So waste disposal in water bodies. Waste can get to water bodies through heavy rains when we dispose our waste indiscriminately in the environment. It's eventually washed into the sea by heavy rains via storms. Also, sweeping of waste from the coastline into the water, and also indiscriminate dumping of refuse into the water bodies. These are ways. So indiscriminate dumping of refuse in our environment should first be observed, because it is through them, it's through the land that the waste actually gets to the water. Yes.
It is through the land that the waste actually gets into the water. Do we all agree with her? A round of applause for these students. The last card on this row. This is an interesting one. Waste segregation. Does anyone here take out time to separate their wastes when you want to maybe throw away bottles, you want to throw away batteries? Does anyone here take out time to do that? I like the fact that we are being honest. Please, a round of applause for yourselves. All right. So for the team that picked this, go ahead, turn on your mics, introduce yourself, and tell us how we can work on this.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ismail Aisha from Government Secondary School, Gwarimpa Life Camp. Waste segregation is a situation or a process whereby you distinguish and you separate all your waste depending on the type they are. And in the society which we are today, where pollution is taking over the world, waste segregation is pretty much very important, because those that can be disintegrated will be known and they will be disintegrated immediately. Those that cannot be disintegrated or decomposed, like plastic, they would be taken away to where they would properly be taken care of by the sanitation experts. And yes, of course, everybody does it, but it's not everybody that really sticks to it. People may start, but they don't finish it, they don't continue, they just stop it because it's very bothersome. They don't like to do it because it takes a lot of energy.
Wow, do we all agree that these students already sound like the panelists? A round of applause for them. We have 2 more cards to go, and then we move to the next agenda. Upcycling. We're going to talk about this, upcycling, and you're going to tell us if you've been practicing upcycling. What do you do with your old clothes? When you want new clothes, what do you do with your old clothes? Who is speaking for this team? All right, turn on your mic, introduce yourself.
So my name is Damilola Adesoro from Star Tri Schools, Abuja. And when I get my clothes and I don't use them anymore, the thing is that my family, every month, we usually give them to like the less privileged. We go to orphanage homes and then we give those people there, especially shoes. We do that a lot in my family with shoes. When we use shoes and they are no longer our size, we give them to the orphanage homes and IDP camps. Thank you.
I think that we're learning a lot from them. Yes, please. Another round of applause. Your card, please. Air pollution. Is this a very important topic? Do we all agree? All right, please turn on your mic and tell us.
Hi, my name is Yusuf Mariam Ashake, and I would be speaking about air pollution. There are many chemicals that are associated with air pollution, and they have different origins, so they have to be solved individually from their causes and stuff. But then one of the causes, this one is not a chemical, but it's a cause of air pollution, which is bush burning. And bush burning pollutes the environment the air is being contaminated. So I guess we should enlighten people that we are contaminating our air and making it more of a health hazard to us. So we should make people understand and realize that bush burning is actually contaminating the air and that we should stop bush burning. And another example is like the use of chlorofluorocarbons in refrigerators, and that is a chemical example of the air being polluted, and there is an alternative chemical that will be used and it won't contaminate the air.
A round of applause. A round of applause for her. Climate change. This one is a very, very important topic. Let me just tell us. I told your teacher that this might be too hard, but he said that you're ready for us. So please tell us about climate change.
Climate change is the change in the weather. So climate change is not a natural thing, and it's very harmful because climate change is caused by human beings. Climate change can be caused by bush burning, as she said, or releasing of chemicals into the air, like companies, organizations, they release gases into the air and it may change the climate. When we talk about climate change, one of the effects is that we don't have regular. So, for example, in Nigeria now, it's supposed to be raining season, but it's been a while we've seen rain during this season that it's supposed to be raining. This can be caused by climate change because the way that Earth is supposed to be regularly with the weather, it doesn't work like that anymore because of the climate change, and the ozone layer will be like spoiling or getting damaged because of the air or the release into the air that can destroy the climate.
Thank you so much. She mentioned the ozone layer, and then she talked about the rain. Well, I would say that for some of us where we are, we can see the heavy rain. Within an hour, you experience heavy rain, and then the sun that comes out, the heat that comes out of it in the same hour is scorching. So indeed, this is an important topic. The last but not the least is renewable energy. Are we ready for this? All right, turn on your mic. Tell us your name and what you have to say about renewable energy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rahama Aliguma. Renewable energy is an energy which can be renewed or replenished over a particular period of time, e.g., solar energy and wind energy. It should be encouraged more and should provided more in our society. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for the students. You know, I mentioned earlier that they are already sounding like the panelists. Just imagine what they'll sound like in 5 years or 10 years' time. A round of applause one more time for the students. We have another panel coming up very, very shortly. This will be moderated by the CEO of GreenHuB Africa. But I would like to introduce the guests. As I call your name, if you're in the hall, please come up to join Henry Bassi as he comes up as well. We have Jutaro Sakamoto, the Education Officer for UNICEF. A round of applause for him. A representative from Oando Foundation is also going to join us. Ginika, if you're in the room, Tonya would be joining us, please. Doyin Ogunye, the founder, Mental and Environmental Development Initiative for Children, Medic, she'll be joining us as well. Dr. Eustache Onwegbu, the president in CSR, would also join the panelists for this conversation. If you're in the room, a round of applause. And Hajia Fatima Gambo, the Director, Co-Curricular Secondary Education Board, Garki Abuja, should be joining us as well. A round of applause as she comes up. The conversation for today from this panel is driving behavioral change through education and advocacy. And Henry Bassi is going to be moderating this panel session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. It's a pleasure to have everyone here. We will try and keep this as timely as possible. We also will like it to be quite engaging, so we will give an opportunity for those of you on the floor to also ask questions. Like Esther has done, she's introduced everyone already. So I will just start by asking, questions to everyone. I could ask follow-up questions just based on the responses I get, but the objective is that this is a very enriching exercise and that we leave here with a lot more information about what the brands on this table are doing in the environmental education space, and also to get a sense of how we can use environmental education to change behavior. And the thing is that when it changes behavior, it also has an impact even with regards to plastic. GreenHuB Africa is quite involved in this space, and we definitely have test case and we have examples of how children have learned how to separate waste, for example, and taken that home. And when they get home, they begin to engage their parents. The parents are involved in investing in additional bins for separation of waste. And so the conversation is actually becoming richer as we have more people involved. So I will start really by asking, Tonya right beside me. She's the programs manager of Owando. We're currently actually working closely with the Owando Foundation on their Clean Our World project. And so the question to you, Tonya, is what components of environmental education are responsible for achieving the desired behavioral change among learners?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Henry, and it's afternoon now. Good afternoon again to our distinguished guests. I would like to keep it very brief because I know that we are itching to leave. It's been a very long day. In answering Henry's question, I'll just very directly speak about what the foundation is doing through the Clean Our World project, because the whole essence of the Clean Our World project is to support behavioral change. And we know that if there's any group of people amongst humans who are quick to adapt to change, it's children. Because they are very malleable, they are dependent largely, and so they follow after what you tell them. And so if you as parents, as sisters, uncles, aunties lead by example, the children will follow. But another thing you would also realize about children is that they can be initiators of change. So there are things that they know that they bring back home, share with you as parents, you see that they're very eager to do it and you join them to do it. And that way we all learn and we become better. So what do we do with the Clean Our World initiative? Because Owando Foundation as an organization already targets children as our core beneficiaries, because we already work in schools through the Adopt a School initiative, it just made practical sense for us to continue in this trajectory by introducing environmental education into the schools where we work. But we are now doing it beyond just our adopted schools. We have other supported schools. So in Lagos, we have 24 schools. The key components that we deploy. First, the in-school activities. So what do? We work with our implementing partner. For this third phase is GreenHuB, to develop or to curate training that would help strengthen the capacity of the teachers and the education managers, because one of the things we found during our needs assessment is that most of these teachers, you tell them, you need to incorporate environmental education into classroom learning. And they're wondering, how am I going to do that? And you come and you say climate change, climate action. They're wondering, what are you talking about? So it's important that the trainers who are going to teach these children are taught themselves on effective ways to deploy this knowledge at school level. But we take it a step further. For the COW project, it's like a pilot. At school level, we're helping also the teachers to deploy this training, because we don't assume they are suddenly masters because they've had a few days of training. We hold their hands to deploy this training at school level, and we make it as practical as possible. For this third phase, working with GreenHuB, you can see the various superheroes. So it's edutainment, using something the children already love, cartoons, to communicate information that they need to help create practical change. And I'll tell you, the experience has been mind-blowing. Another component of the project is the recycling and upcycling. I won't spend so much time talking about plastic pollution. That's what we've been hearing about. And I think Prof has done an excellent job about it with his lecture. But what we're doing is helping children to see how they can use materials around them that otherwise will be regarded as useless to make things that are actually useful, and things that they will be proud to showcase, and things they can use. And in some communities, community members who have participated in the program are now selling materials that they have produced. It's just that we don't have pictures to share, but one of the things they've produced are ottomans that you can put in your sitting rooms. And they've been able to replicate it and sell it for 5,000, and it's a business venture. So you see, the opportunities are limitless. Another area for sustainability of this education is the environmental clubs. You come, you execute your project and go. There's no continuity. So we strengthen the environmental clubs as a way of sustaining whatever knowledge we have transferred, so that they become the champions at the various schools that we support. Maybe much later, if I do have the time, I can also speak about what we're doing with GreenHuB and the Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board to actually develop a syllabus as well as lesson plans that can help teachers across all the schools in Lagos. Currently, we're only working in 24 schools, but we know that the information we're getting here is something that needs to be cascaded across all the schools, not just a few privileged schools. So we're working with the State Universal Basic Education Board and GreenHuB to develop lesson plans and the syllabus that we can hand over to schools and train them so that they can deploy this long after we're gone. This, in a summary, is what we're doing.
Thank you, Tonia. Thank you very much. I will like to ask, the lady right beside Tonia, Doni, and Doni I've known for a few years. We actually had, when GreenHuB was starting out, one of our very first events was had at the Kids Beach Garden, of which Doni is a founder. Let's put our hands together for her. So this was in 2019, and we had a really good show. So Doyin, my question to you is, you've also been playing in this space for quite a while. You've also done Reswaye with Coca-Cola and all of that. Now, when you think about the issues that we're dealing with, how do you think that the kids are actually learning? You know, I mean, we've some of us have done this for a few years now. How do you think they're learning, and what kind of impact do you think it's having in terms of making us and equipping the kids to be making intelligent decisions about the environment in the future? Yeah.
Can everybody hear me? Thank you. I really appreciate this space. I started the Kids Beach Garden in 2016 because I wanted children to see. We tell children to do this, but when you give a child a visual, when you let them know that this is what is going on, it changes them forever. And that's what changed me. That's what changed my mindset. I started to recycle in 2009. And I started to go to schools. I would go to schools that I would know children, different schools, and I'll tell children to clean the environment, which they started to do. But when they go back home, especially children that are not so privileged, and they start to separate their waste and pretty things like that, their parents would actually kick against it. So for the children, it was like a culture shock. So I said, why don't we bring everybody to the Kids Beach Garden? Let them see what plastic pollution is actually doing to the ocean, to the beaches, to the aquatic biodiversity generally. And it started to work. So the parents will bring the children. And from doing that, we started to see that the parents were also being educated, and it became a fun activity for the children, that they would even say, Mommy, I want to go and clean the beach at the Kids Beach Garden. And this has never happened in Nigeria before, where you would have children come to the beach specifically to clean the beach. And I think all the children that have participated since 2009 deserve a round of applause for the kind of work that they're doing, because that is how it starts. So I want to say that that is one thing we've been able to do. We started to go to schools. Schools have started to come to the beach for excursions, and they've started to make a difference. Most of the things that they take from the beach, the microplastic especially, they use it to create artwork that can actually be sold for the school as well. We didn't just stop there. We made sure that even in their schools, they have receptacles where they can separate their plastic waste from source. Now, it's a good thing that we're all doing these things in silos, but coming together, I think we should have a national spread. We don't have that. The closest we have to a national spread is the NYSC, where all of us are mandated to do, and we get a certificate for it. I think using that same platform, we can also do something in the primary school level where they get a certificate for environmental work they have done. Most of us, when you want to send your children out of the country, you find that it is extremely important that volunteering is something that they take very seriously abroad. And I think we should start to do that in Nigeria as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doyin. Thank you very much. I will now go to Dr. Eustace Onegu, and I will be asking really about instructional materials. So when you're doing environmental education, you need to produce materials. At GreenHuB, we produced a syllabus. We wrote the superheroes into the syllabus. It's 8 weeks long. So each superhero takes a week, and the kids literally just spend that week understanding, for example, what Ekanem, the fashion fixer, is doing, saving the issues around waste in the fashion industry. And then you can go to, on the far left, Sultan, who's a fume fighter, and that speaks to greenhouse gas emissions. So they take a week, they understand it thoroughly. Now, with regards to the design of instructional material, how best do you think that it can be done in Nigeria to a place where it is sustainable? We're finding that with the Wando Foundation, we're doing primary schools, with IHS, we're doing secondary schools. Before these two, we had done tertiary institutions. We did Yaba Tech, we spoke to 2,000, we got 1,000 volunteers from that. But how do we do it in a sustainable way, Doc?
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eustace Onegu, and I serve as the president of the International Network for Corporate Social Responsibility. So if you see NCS
it's got a meaning. International Network for Corporate Social Responsibility. So we do a number of, we provide certifications on a number of sustainability standards, sustainability, including ISO 26000, which is social responsibility, ISO 14001, which is environmental management. And we don't just provide certifications to individuals, we can also certify products, projects, services, as well as organizations. So with regards to training materials, in addition to these two certifications, personally, I train and certify on about 10 other standards. So training materials is a very important part of your training. If you don't have a good training material, or even if you have a good training material, and if you don't speak to the situation, individual, sometimes I may start a training with 20 persons in the class, in the classroom. By the time I finish the training, I must have used case studies that speaks to individual circumstances, one after the other. By so doing, you are now getting them to understand the importance of changing behavior. I don't know if that makes sense. It's no longer, of course, I never liked theories and all the rest of them. I usually told my trainees that I don't do definitions. I would give you methodological approach of achieving a process. So I believe in process approach, integrated methodology, step by step. So you know, by the time you leave my class, by the time you leave the training, you get to your office, you get home, you know exactly what to do to avoid proactively. We've been talking about the impacts, environmental impacts, but most importantly, what do we need to actually avoid that impact? It is more effective than the reactive approach. So by the time you get home, your behavior at home will change, what you teach your children will change, what you do in the office will change, and even with segregation, like the children talks of waste at source. Sometimes I go for an audit in company because we're auditors as well. I go to auditors of organizations. They'll say no, they do the segregation of waste at the dustbin or something. I said no, you have to do it at source. By the time you drink that water, you know where to put the plastic bottle. If you don't do it right, then you're not conscious of the environmental impact. So now, talking about the training materials, it is important that we have step-by-step approach that speaks to individual circumstances and not the theory, not definitions, not this tick box approach, if you know what I mean. So step-by-step approach to this. If you're in public sector, what do? There's no one of us that doesn't have an interaction with the environment. And the environment itself, with what we call the 3 pillars of sustainability: environment, social, and economy. The environment has a direct link with these 3 other things. We can create wealth. We can also make ourselves poorer by the way we manage our waste, by the way we treat our environment. So we can also make sure that we are having a better life by the way that we conserve the environment. That's what we call a life cycle approach. Life cycle approach in everything that we do. If you want to buy this pen, think about the cost of buying the pen, the cost of maintaining it, the cost of disposal, and the environmental impact, not just that use. Look at the substandard products that we bought from China let me not just for Asia. Substandard products, there are some touchlights that you use just for one day, and they'll be gone. So anyone like we do that trains professionals, trains children, trains any sort of person should have a systematic approach of speaking to their individual circumstances. That makes it a lot easier to put into practice. That's what I can say.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc. So I will now ask you know, this panel is quite interesting because it has a representation of the stakeholder community. And so I will be going to Hajia Fatima Gambo. She's the director of the Co-Curricular Secondary School Board here in Abuja. And she'll be speaking to it from the government perspective with regards to how environmental education is being achieved in line with the government's sustainability goals around the subject. The floor is yours, Hajia.
Thank you so much. And as you earlier mentioned, my name is Fatima Gambo Baba. I'm the Director of Co-Curricular FCT Secondary Education Board. We are grateful that not only FCT Secondary Education Board is invited, but our students today, they had a very good day, and I saw them answering questions where we say thank you. How do we help our students with plastic pollution in our schools? I think that is the simplest way I will, yes. So one definite answer I would say is that we are using definitely through agricultural science education or subjects that we have in our schools. But that's not enough. We also devise other means like co-curricular activities in our schools, whereby we employ methods of game, you know, entertainment, play, most especially competitions. And we also incorporate and partner with NGOs, just like Environmental Youth Hub. We have SAGE, we have art clubs and societies in our schools, like green clubs, like environmental clubs, and so many others. And as I earlier mentioned, that we state competitions to all our schools. And through those competitions, we're able to, I think in 2018, to mobilize all our schools to compete on this topic, waste to wealth. In that topic, where we made our students to come up with solutions, how they can, you know, use plastics, other waste to come up with meaningful projects that eventually will give them a sustenance. And it might interest you to know that plastic sachet water plastics were used to create interlocking blocks for our students. I remember GSS Garki came up with that project. And during that time, one powerful politician even ordered for the interlocking in his house. But unfortunately, before they could make it, COVID came, and then that was it. Like they also use used tires, you know, to create shoe polish, you know. They make fencing, you know, so many hygiene gadgets, fish balls, so many things. They can also use sugarcane trash, you know, to make papers, these cardboard papers that they can draw. Apart from that, they use a lot of initiative, you know, to come up with so that they can eventually make a living from that. So this is what I will say, and we are on. Of recent, our chairman ordered that we come up with a committee so that all our schools will be placed under competition. And we are going to use fourth industrial revolution courses, whereby we have robotics, coding, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things, so many things, you know. The students will compete and then eventually we'll have the best. And also, we are also placing this waste to wealth again. And then biogas and other means of, other competitions, other topics for competition, so that our students will be well grounded. And then the information, I want you to know that we realize that when we use curriculum to teach our students, it is not always effective. So, but when you use other means, we realize that it is so effective. And that is why we go now through co-curricular activities, and then we impart knowledge to our students. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Hajia Gambo. Just listening to you, it just takes us into the kind of way that we deploy environmental education with Owando Foundation and even IHS and in the past. There's a huge, very, very important aspect that competition contributes to the conversation. It gets the children to not just learn, but they interact. They also, there's this thing with peers when they realize that they will be rewarded for actions that they're taking. And I totally agree with you that competition is a very, very big part of it. Thank you very much for that. I will be going to the last but not the least, UNICEF. UNICEF are the iconic children. They have a big focus on children, and they're actually very big around collection of data and insights, because you get data, you mine the data, and so they're sitting on a lot of information, and they're doing some remarkable work in this space. So I'll just let UNICEF speak to the issues that they're dealing with and bring it home to Nigeria, especially around data collection and the progress that you're making with environmental education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. So in order to address the environmental issue, climate change issues, or sustainability issues, we need to probably change the country's system and policy as well as societal norms or practice. But this is very, very difficult. But so what I want a participant to think about, what are the driving forces for these changes? Of course, there are many. But I think from the UNICEF education sector, I think one of the most powerful driving forces is people, not just the ordinary people who are mindful of the environmental threat and the consequences, and also those who have a will and also the capacity to take actions. Particularly the young people, young generations have a critical role to play, because you are the one who are impacted by the environmental threat the most. But at the same time, you are the one who are leading the future of the countries. So it's critical to invest in and also to empower the young people and the children through the education and learning, so that they can build and develop the knowledge, skills, values, ways of thinking, behavior, attitude, which you need to take action to protect the environment and climate. Unfortunately, these issues, environment, sustainability, and then the climate issues are not fully integrated in the education system in Nigeria. Therefore, the UNICEF is working with the government partners, private partners, communities on the ground to address the issues with both the upstream approaches and the bottom-up approaches. So one of the bottom-up approaches is this year, UNICEF supported the development of the Youth Manifest for action on environment and climate change education in Nigeria. So this manifest reflects the voices of over 2,000 children and youth across Nigeria. So they called on all the stakeholders, including government, private sector, communities, everyone to take action to support, empower them in mainly 3 areas. First demand is they demanded right to education with access to quality inclusive education. And this is very critical because in this country, there are 18 million children who are out of school. And Nigeria alone accounts for the 15% of the global number of out of school children. It's huge. There is a huge need for education learning. And second is learning for the positive environment actions. They need opportunities not only to learn the math and English, they need opportunity to acquire the 21st century skills, life skills, such as critical thinking, problem solving, environment awareness. They need these skills to take action. And third one is the participation in the decision making. These young people are not just the young people. They are also the stakeholder, critical stakeholder to be accountable, to account for the environmental protection, safety, and the future of the Nigeria. So we are supporting these young people to get their actions implemented. And then another example about the upstream work is we worked with the state government to develop the framework for environment and climate literacy education for the children and the youth in Nigeria. So basically, this is a framework defined what the climate competency or what environmental competency people in Nigeria should acquire through the education learning. And then there is 4 pillars. Basically, they said that education must provide an opportunity to develop the foundational understanding of the environmental issues and then the skills to take action to address the real life issues. And second one is awareness. They need to be aware of how the environmental threats impact the children, people, communities in Nigeria. And third one is agency. Education must help them to exercise their agency to plan their own action and implement. And last one is again, it's about the participation. Education needs to empower them with the capacity as well as the confidence to to say their opinion or expression or thought to the key stakeholders. And then lastly, I want to mention the importance of the intersectoral approaches. Climate changes, environmental issues, these are the issues involving in the different sectors. It's about the issue of the economy. It's about the issue of the environment, about the education, about the health, about the nutrition issues. So if we work in a silo, we will not be able to address the bottlenecks. So we need to work together with other partners in different sectors. One of the actions that UNICEF took is we also engage the youth group members to engage in the solid management or the sanitation issues in the context of education and health. So this is one example of how UNICEF work with the different people from different sectors to meet the needs of the children in the countries. So I think I just want to address the importance of partnership, and we are so excited to be a part of this community in the country to work together on this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. It was nice to just listen to you connect the dots and how you bring the conversation from education right through to the environment and how environmental education then affects, economy and health. They're actually related. But I'd like to switch gears a bit and switch to the audience and literally have the audience maybe even ask 1 or 2 questions. Do we have any questions? Okay, I can see a hand there. Do you want to, can you introduce yourself and then tell us who your question is for? If it's a general question, I can then take it to the panel.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. My name is Professor Magnus Onoha of the West African GreenHuB Development Institute. Thank you so much for this session. This session has been quite incisive. It's just a general commentary, then I'll situate the panel contextually. Now, with due respect to Dr. Nebu, when you want to look at methodology and approaches, but you cannot do away with the theory. All we've been saying here is about a movement, a trajectory from linearity or linear economy to a secular economy. And a secular economy is just a methodology where there is no waste. A system, there is no waste. And we've talked about a plastic, plastic pollution as a theme this year. I like what Sambo said, Alhaji Sambo, with respect to AI. I also want to link that to the woman cleaning the beach. We're doing a work now on using AI as a solution for the marine litters. And that's AI. So we have a center right here now, Innovation Center, Innovation Hub. And that's what we're doing right now with a group of young robotic scientists on how to develop that innovation to address marine litters. Because marine litters have been, when you talk about 9 billion waste in the system, plastics, and 90 of them hasn't really been, recycled and all that. So it's a challenge. So, and that's why I like what GreenHuB is doing. We need to go beyond this talk show. And I want to thank you for what we have done, showing the advocacy, the awareness. I'm excited about what the young chaps are doing. And that's exactly what she's saying. Once we develop the curriculum, have a communication mechanism, how to address it. So those of us in the next 20 years, I may have retired to be playing my golf, but these children, you need to let them continue. And it's interesting that let's situate it within the context of circular economy. And circular economy is the new thing now. And whether you're in the blue economy or in the bioeconomy or in the green economy, that's the whole matrix. So that's what I want to situate this. And this year is a marine plastic solution. And it's very, very critical. And so that's a microcosm of whether you're in the terrestrial, micro, or secular, blue or bio. But let's begin to talk it, and as well as have this curriculum that will be impactful. So Henry, I like what you're doing with GreenHuB. We have cause to collaborate further. Thank you so much.
Let's put our hands together for Professor Magnus. It's really exciting to hear him get into AI because, when we look at the future of the Earth and we talk about the planet and saving the planet, over 70% of Nigeria is below age 35. So really and truly, if you're going to plug in and leave this planet better, we need to stay in the format that will work for the future. So I'm excited to hear about what you're doing, and we'll look forward to talking a bit more about it. Would there be anyone else at all that has any? Okay, great. I can see. I will come to you. I know that you are rearing up. So I will. Can I take the gentleman who has kept his hand up for a bit? You. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Okwayemi Okunlola, a Nigerian Environmental Society member. And I want to appreciate the organizer of this program for this opportunity and for the exposure and enlightenment. But my observation is that I think we need to involve the public analyst in this type of conversation. Now we are talking about plastics. I know that plastics are made from polymers and all those chains. So I'm of opinion that maybe subsequent such of this program, there should be like a chemist or somebody that have about chemistry background, yes, so to give us a pictorial aspect of what actually happened in decomposition, so when we see the pictorial of all these things, how the carbon links in the picture, it will enable us to actually appreciate how it's tough to actually break those chains. Just like the last speaker has spoken about linear, and we cannot take away theory from the practical. And we look at the workings of the strain of plastic, how the polymers link. You marvel. You see the depth of how science have gone and research have gone into that. So I want to, as an observation, I want to encourage the organizer of this program that in the maybe subsequent that we can have, we can actually get somebody, an expert, and even maybe in the this project of the video games that you want to do, we can actually let people understand. When people talk about polymer chain, it looks like a big thing. When we break it down, that is just when carbon comes together, and these are the links that it forms. When we begin to have that conversation, maybe one day somebody will have a dream of, okay, how can we break this chain? Now, research told us that we have over 1,000 years for just maybe a mole or certain amount of plastic to be broken down. But when we begin to put this thing in films, in games, maybe a child one day will just come up with, how can we actually break this chain? Can I use a local knowledge or native knowledge to actually bring about maybe a plant somewhere around in Nigeria that will give us the actual thing that we actually need to break this chain? And secondly, my contribution is that, yes, we are all here and we are enlightened. And I will encourage GreenHuB Africa to go to a marketplace. Oh, let's have a program on Saturday. We went to Gakitu Market. And the feedback there is that people need to actually get to know about this environmental awareness in a deeper level. Many are saying, okay, I'm even asking that you're asking us to collect it. Where are we going to dump the waste? In Abuja. Where? So I want to encourage GreenHuB Africa to maybe subsequent one, let's drive this message home. And we'll see that in a period of time, everybody will catch up with the move. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. So very much. I don't know if to say you're like a flyer. I've been talking, we've been having a lot of exchanges with your president, Dr. Ife, extensively, and looking at collaborations and opportunities because of your nationwide network. And so some of the things you've touched on are actually burning conversations that we're currently having. So thank you for your responses. I'll come to you, Prof. I'll come to you. I just wanted to also say that with regards to animation and gamification, so the truth of the matter is that we can't exhaust everything in one session or on one World Environment Day. And because the cause is to push the lifestyle, to change behavior, to actually make it a new culture, is why we're also plugging into popular culture. So when you hear animation and gamification, it's the culture of the youth that we will be able to use to have those conversations with them across a series of animation or for example, gaming. We didn't talk much about gamification, but the beauty about gamification is that the kind of action that will be driven through games is offline to online to offline. So you're going to have people who are, for example, driven to go and plant a tree physically and then come back online and get rewarded for it. And that's the gamification side, but we didn't touch on it at all. It's massive and explosive, and so I appreciate the point. Of course, I'll come to our Prof. Prof definitely has quite a bit to say on the subject, so I'll just yield the floor to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Henry. I just wanted to comment on the two speakers before you. I think they were talking about necessarily the epistemology and ontology or research. You will discover that there's no one road to research. That's why you have grounded theory. You can collect data and let the data do the talking and build theory around it, or you can start with theory and then look the data. It depends on your training, and it depends on your epistemological and ontological positioning, not in general. Even when you do your PhD and they ask you, why did you choose a particular research methodology? All right, they are there. It's your choice to defend that, and no one can take that away from you. The point my CEO was making and brothers made that you responded to, this is a very big field. And we are now calling for inter and multidisciplinary approach to this. The chemist, people coming from chemical engineering side that look at structures and all those kind of, they break those things down. That is their field. They leave them up there. And then we look at it and say, from policy making perspective, what do we do with this, right? But if you bring all these people together in one room, it become a talking shop and they'll be fighting with each other over resources. I'm a director of a research center. So we have to break these things down and manage them. Now you can go to a body like the Nigerian Universities Commission or whatever. And one of the fallacies that we get told in Africa is that, oh, the government actually do not do this or whatever. It is the government that bring the public sector, the academics, and other institutions together. We have Innovate UK. You know what they do? They will say they have 20 million pounds. Now, if you have an idea, that idea must be developed with a private sector, all right? So you have to go and choose the private sector, all right? And you work together to develop that project. Then you go and do it. If you succeed, then they bring it up and said, we want people who are into enterprises. That's why you see most universities in the UK now, they have enterprise section, right? They push down to the enterprise section, and that no university, no businessman or whatever really want to put money into this thing. And with all due respect to the businesses that are supporting us, they wouldn't be supporting us if they are not getting tax relief on it. I wouldn't do it as a CEO. So you have to create an enabling framework. That's why when I go to these people, I say, look, I'm giving you an opportunity, to help me, because you would take this money back in terms of resources and all those things and whatever. So we have to understand how the game works before we start, building all kinds of theoretical, propositions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think Doc still wants to just unpack. So I'll let you, but we need to keep it short because we're going to take passing comment. We've already overrun, so.
Again, Prof has answered on my behalf. I just wanted to talk about the synergy between the public, private, and civil society that is lacking in Nigeria. I think I also was misunderstood because I was not saying that theory is not important. I was just saying that we have a lot of theories which is not doing anything for us, which is not being practicalized. How many dissertations, how many research papers that have been submitted in the Nigerian universities has ever been published? Just look at it from that point of view. You've worked in the public sector, you work in the private, I worked with you, you are definitely in your research work and the rest of them. But most importantly is that we need to combine, we need to be able to work together, synergize between the public sector, the private sector, and the institutions. If you look at America, the UK, Prof himself was my neighbor in the UK. Many of the universities in the UK do not depend on just the government funding. Many of them in the US do not depend on government funding. It's because of the private sector innovations. They innovate, work on products, and launch it in the market. And that's what makes them strive. That's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be wrapping up this panel. So we'll have, okay, I can see one more question. It's coming from a lady. So we need to give the lady the chance, please.
My name is Amina Yahaya from IHSTowers. So I'm a green energy specialist. My question is for Doyin regarding the beach cleaning. I just wanted to ask, I would have waited to ask later, but I'm sure a lot of people here would benefit from the question. Is it only, because I know we don't have beaches in Abuja. So is it, for now, is it restricted to Lagos? And are you working on bringing it here to Abuja or like expanding to like other states within Nigeria? Because I know we have like lakes and other things here that it doesn't have to be a beach. Have you just, do you do anything like a camp for kids? Most of us parents, I'm sure we have like, when it's summer, we want to take our kids to do things and already like teaching them to clean. Sometimes they don't find it interesting. But if you're doing it like an activity whereby they get to enjoy it and at least learn at the same time, they'd be more interested in it. So that's
question. We focus on the marine ecosystem. Beaches because it's the closest to us. I've lived in Lagos all my life and I've been surrounded by the ocean and the lagoon, especially the ocean. And I have an affinity for water generally. But coming here today, I don't come to Abuja often, but something I always look forward to seeing is the Jabi Lake. And I don't know the bridge, but coming down that bridge today, I saw the Jabi Lake and I saw so much plastic. And honestly, it broke my heart. It really broke my heart. And we will be ready to partner with anybody in Abuja that is doing something about that. In Lagos, we do something called the Lagos Coastal Plastic Search, where we take out 8 days of our life and we focus on the ocean, we focus on the lagoon. We go around Lagos picking up this plastic because there is no AI, there's no software, there's no paperwork that would physically take it out unless the people, like we heard today, the people would have to go and take it out. So yes, we're going to be doing that across Nigeria. Thank you.
So one last question. Sorry, please. No, sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's a similar question to Jackie. Hi. Yes. So because she's doing the do you train? Have you started training children? Are you still only like Lagos based? Is it something that, because it's not just children, I'm also interested in it personally. So is it something that you've started like training people, and do you tend on expanding, leaving Lagos, coming here to Abuja, other states within Nigeria?
Okay, thank you so much. First of all, I'm not from Lagos. I am an Ibadan girl. So I'm from Ibadan. So our organization is from Ibadan as well. So regarding children, we actually work with children, and what motivated me was my son. So I work with him a lot. Like he just have fun doing it, and I started weaving at showcases. I was 9 years old. I was born into weaving. So as I always help my mom, it too is just like having fun. But I realized that he could not get on it. I waited till 9 years old to start weaving, not because I could not weave, but because of the equipment. It was bigger than me. I was small. So I decided to now come up with a design, something that will be small, that will be able to use when he was 3 years old. Yeah, that could size like for his own size. And he was so happy. His friends joined him. So many parents started coming that they would love that their children came to meet them, that they would love to learn this thing that is very fun. Even a UNICEF person reached out to me. They saw it on LinkedIn and they were like, wow, that this is very interesting. A lot of schools wanted us to like come and build the looms so that they could add it to their curriculum for the children, because it's fun. Like they're just having fun. You always have fun doing it, just taking the thread and creating something from it. And also we actually empower people. We even partner with some organizations, not only in Nigeria, even in Togo, to empower women and youth. So we do trainings very well. And we hope and plan to collaborate with more organizations so that we can reach more communities in Nigeria and even in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think that it will not be, complete and balanced if we don't hear from these superheroes right on my right-hand side here. So I know we've been listening. I've been looking at their faces. I don't think we lost them at any point. So it'd be nice to hear from you guys. Anything at all that you picked up from this conversation? Anyone? Okay.
Okay. My name is Ismail Aisha from Government Secondary School, Gwarinpa Life Camp. So my question is that from the view of a student, when we go home with something new to practice, some of our parents don't really allow us. So when it comes to segregation and recycling, we face a lot of challenges. I know how it feels. So what exactly is the solution to this in terms of our parents helping us and encouraging us to do these kind of practices at home, outside, anywhere at all, just so that we can feel motivated to change the situation of the earth?
Thank you for that brilliant question. I will throw it open to my panel of experts who are extremely knowledgeable to respond. And who is going first? Oh, okay, I will come to you, Joke. I'll come to you, but Hadja has a response. So let's hear Hadja first.
Okay.
I think what you should do first is to ensure that you carry your parents along, as you are bringing any project home, invite them to it and ensure that they understand and get to understand what you mean. And I'm sure with time they will understand, and then they will be giving you that leverage, to make headway. At the same time, I think you can also ask your principal or the teacher to write a note officially to the parents, telling them that this project is on and that you are expected to perform this, even at home. I think with that, parents should be able to allow their their children to go on with the project even at home. And then you too, as a child, try to convince them and then ensure that they understand you. I think that's just what I would say. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Hajia. That's one expert response. I know Joke's hand was up. I also know Prof is about to say something. Tonya, did you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to say, start from the point of least resistance. Sometimes parents like to be practical. They don't think the way you think. Everything is possible with you. One of the issues with adulthood is experience plus reality plus all of it just makes us want to be very stereotypical in the way we approach issues. So you're saying separate waste, and they're thinking we have one waste bin in this house. Where do you want to keep the other ones that you want? So they're being practical. So, but there are other ways that you can be environmentally conscious. So you may say, let's start a garden in the family. If we don't have land, like in Lagos, we don't have space, let's have buckets or cement bags that we can use to grow vegetables. Just find a way to introduce it. And one thing I've noticed is when you start, the desire builds up and you want to do more, But don't just come and say, from today we're separating our waste in the house. You're already, I think that's just what I want to add.
So just adding on to Tonya, we know about Greta Thunberg, the activist, and we talk about youth activists. So we're just saying, add some wisdom to the activism. Joke, your point, please.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. It's actually relatable because, I don't know, maybe our parents are just scared of us failing or something sometimes, and they don't want us to just do some things. Especially like I really appreciate Ajay and the other speaker too about that the space. Maybe you are managing one room, everybody, and you now want to be separating something that there's no space at all. But I believe that with the right attitude, because this actually happened to me because I dropped out of medicine and surgery, and my mom, they were already calling her mommy doctor, and she felt bad about it, and and the way that, that she looked at the whole thing already, she wanted me to be like in that field. And she saw that I was going into what she was doing, and she didn't see like a future in it, like the skill that she was doing small, that why would a university graduate now want to like come into this? So she wasn't really, in as much as she loved me, she supported me, she didn't support this idea, especially this pure water sachet of it in it. She told me, she was like, Joke, can you only work? She was like, this thing cannot work. Like she looked at it like this, that this thing cannot work. But eventually, with the right attitude and, just making sure that you channel the energy into the right thing. And because I tell you, they will not want you to just keep doing different crafts, and sometimes they see it as something that distracts us from our education, and they will not want just to do those things. So, but when it came out fine, she was like, in Katimu, sorry, like this is what I'm talking about. Yes, this is it. And Yes, and she started telling people around, hey, ma July on pure water, no, don't throw away pure water like Joker, we need it. And that's just the way, I just feel like our parents are like, they just want to like be cautious, like they don't want us to be distracted. So, and like he said too, it's just a gradual process. It's not something they just do to them, boom, because we go to schools to sensitize people, because we want them to understand. We go to communities as well. So some students who actually have these challenges that their parents don't allow them, because when we go to school, we teach them with cartons. We tell them to bring their Indomie cartons, everything. So they use it to create looms on the assembly they all. So they create something from their waste. They're always so happy from the waste clothes, from the waste nylon. So we do that for them on the spot, like 1 hour this thing. So they always organize it. The principal will talk to them. So most of them want to practice at home and their parents. So we always make sure that, okay, get our website, let your parents check it so that they see that, okay, this thing is actually something that is nice and makes you to be conscious of environment, because you can see what you are creating from it. It makes it more interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, Prof, I know you want to say something, but I know we could go on and on and on and on and on, but we must call it a day. We've had an exciting session. I will pursue some more conversations with you, Prof, on a one-on-one basis. But I was going to say, just before we leave, can we take 1 minute passing comments from every panelist, and then I'll just do the wrap, and then we'll call it a day. Just 1 minute, please. 1 minute. Let's try and keep it short and sharp, starting with Doyin.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say it starts and it ends with us. It starts with the people, it ends with the people. And that is the only thing I have been communicating in all the panel sessions, all my interviews during this season, that the solution to pollution is actually us. So let's never forget that. Thank you.
Okay, I think building on what she said, I would also say that you can be a champion within your circle of influence. Don't wait for others to tell you how to do it. Do it and let others see and do it alongside you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much for your participation and engagement. I just say that this is a wonderful group. I think we learn a lot from one another. So I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. What I can say is that just what we're saying in health and safety is an individual's, everyone's responsibility. Some as environmental stewardship. It's each and everyone's responsibility. So we should take that home. Thank you.
I just want to pass this message to the students that we are coming. Please, when you go back, tell your school principals, your teachers that very soon we are coming in a big way. And we expect that every school tries, its best to ensure that it's win the competition. We are coming with a competition. So this is just what I want to pass on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hajia. So I'll just like to summarize and say that we've heard a lot on this panel. We've heard about, instructional materials and how to use that to develop skills. We've heard about, competitions and how to use that to challenge each other to do better. We've heard also about, things that have to do with youth empowerment, encouraging them through critical thinking, but connecting the dots right through to show how environmental education is impacting on health and the economy. We've heard about, using of AI and technology. We've heard about using different media fonts, whether it's animation, whether it's gamification. We've also heard about theory and practical. And then one of the high points for me was, activism with wisdom. And then, of course, we've heard that it really starts with all of us. So if we can all agree that it starts with us, we can then begin to look at our lives individually and say, what can I do in my own world to truly leave this planet a better place? Thank you all for listening to us. We really appreciate your time. And we will really be winding things down. I know that I'll hand over to the compares to wrap it up, but thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again this time next year. And, from myself, my chair, my board, and of course our partners here, we say thank you so much for listening, and we will want to continue the conversations. So please stay back, network. We'll pass out lunch and all of that towards the end. And I think that's it really. So can we all put our hands together for ourselves? Yeah. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we sincerely should give yet another round of applause to the panelists, please. I'm sure you've enjoyed yourself. Well, 2 words actually have come out of our discussions today: education and, of course, entertainment. And part of education is the fact that we have a book which we will be launching today, but then my co-compare will take it up from there. It's a book that I'm sure that you really would enjoy reading. A round of applause for Esther, please.
We deserve an award for the most patient audience ever. This book has stories about the superheroes that the children talked about. If you want to make a copy, if you want to get a copy, you want to make more inquiries, you can come to me, and we are on social media as well. GreenHuB Africa is also on social media. You can get more details on social media, and you can meet me to make more inquiries. You can get it for your children. You can get it for your alma mater. You can get it for anyone at all, really. It's Guardians of the Planet, and it's here for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of today's World Environment Day. Please make sure you get a pack before you leave. Please get somebody's phone number. Please interact with ourselves. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Program to your school. GreenHuB Africa
is a superhero. Who is a superhero?
Are you ready to embark on an exciting adventure? Join us for an unforgettable experience as GreenHuB Africa brings its school outreach program. GreenHuB Africa is a platform and community.
Who is a superhero? Superhero.
Are you ready to embark on an exciting adventure? Join us for an unforgettable experience as GreenHuB Africa brings its school outreach program to your school. GreenHuB Africa is a platform and community dedicated to the environment. We work with people, organizations, and businesses to protect and improve our planet. Through education, advocacy, and media initiatives, we help individuals reduce their carbon footprint. At GreenHuB Africa, we believe that education is the key to shaping a sustainable future. Our mission is to empower young minds and ignite a passion for environmental stewardship. Consequently, GreenHuB Africa initiated the outreach program by embarking on a journey to 37 schools from onset till date, commencing from the southwestern region, Lagos and Oyo State, and extending to Abuja. This endeavor positively influenced more than 2,000 pupils. Moreover, we anticipate reaching an estimated 3,000 pupils, encompassing 18 more schools nationwide, in the upcoming term. With our dynamic team of experts and engaging activities, we inspire students to become the next generation of environmental superheroes. Our interactive workshops allow students to explore the wonders of nature firsthand, understand the challenges our planet faces, and discover the power they hold to make a difference. GreenHuB Africa's school outreach program empowers students to become agents of change, taking what they've learned and transforming into real-world action. Together, we can create a brighter, cleaner, and more sustainable future. So join us on this incredible journey. Let's make a lasting impact together. GreenHuB Africa's school outreach program, inspiring young minds, fostering environmental responsibility, and transforming students into guardians of our planet. GreenHuB Africa, the future is in our hands.
Who is a superhero? Who is a superhero?
Are you ready to embark on an exciting adventure? Join us for an unforgettable experience as GreenHuB Africa brings its school outreach program to your school. GreenHuB Africa is a platform and community dedicated to the environment. We work with people, organizations, and businesses to protect and improve our planet. Through education, advocacy, and media initiatives, we help individuals reduce their carbon footprint. At GreenHuB Africa, we believe that education is the key to shaping a sustainable future. Our mission is to empower young minds and ignite a passion for environmental stewardship. Consequently, GreenHuB Africa initiated the outreach program by embarking on a journey to 37 schools from onset till date, commencing from the southwestern region, Lagos and Oyo State, and extending to Abuja. This endeavor positively influenced more than 2,000 pupils. Moreover, we anticipate reaching an estimated 3,000 pupils, encompassing 18 more schools nationwide, in the upcoming term. With our dynamic team of experts and engaging activities, we inspire students to become the next generation of environmental superheroes. Our interactive workshops allow students to explore the wonders of nature firsthand, understand the challenges our planet faces, and discover the power they hold to make a difference. GreenHuB Africa's school outreach program empowers students to become agents of change, taking what they've learned and transforming into real-world action. Together, we can create a brighter, cleaner, and more sustainable future. So join us on this incredible journey. Let's make a lasting impact together. GreenHuB Africa's school outreach program, inspiring young minds, fostering environmental responsibility, and transforming students into guardians of our planet. GreenHuB Africa, the future is in our hands.